Start recording, and we start also the streaming. Yeah. So it's the 17th February 2019. It's a Sunday, 7:04 p.m. And hello. Welcome back.
Hello.
Oh, let me just adjust the mic.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, how have you been since we last met?
Yeah. What an adventure. So for the 9 to 5, I want it to be as a fighter, in some kind of arena, the various ones, but it's still a work in progress. The working world kind of frightens me only because everyone's just what I'd call a wage slave these days. You get replaced like that, and just there's no prospects. So I think it's all about making the world of work for you. So I think youth's still on my side, and I could potentially still break through as a fighter, but I have had really big problems with confidence because training goes amazingly, it always goes really well, and then I enter the ring and then disaster because suddenly my legs feel like lead. I can't get them up and I have no coordination. It's improving, but it's just taking a long time. One thing we touched upon, and it's still an issue, is the organizing. Like whenever I go to a competition, it would be amazing if they say, hey, you're on in half an hour, hey, you're on in 20 minutes, hey, you're up now. It doesn't happen. It's like everyone's name gets put into a hat, the hat's shaken around. Oh yeah, Ronald, it's you now.
You're talking about Taekwondo specifically,
yeah,
right?
In kickboxing, I go to either kickboxing or Taekwondo tournaments, and it's literally a case of when they open the hat and then my name appears. And then I have to suddenly be ready. And some of these techniques, they're very, very demanding on you. If you're kicking to the head and you're flying through the air to perform that kick, you kind of want to, limber up first, warm up your wrists, shoulders, everything. But there's just no opportunity sometimes. It's that bad. We're all in the same boat. So I wouldn't say they're like picking on me saying, oi, we're going to make your life difficult. But I mean, as a sports coach myself, it's instilled in me from student status until the past exams. You must always warm up before doing some kind of strenuous activity. It helps focus you for the activity ahead, and it reduces the risk of injury. I had a really, really bad competition in the sense that there was literally nowhere to warm up, where around the whole sports hall, you had the rings in the middle, and then you just had, how would I explain it, standing space. So even the fighters,
you can use it as warming space.
But standing
on
up from
the
maybe
spot.
10 a.m. till 7 p.m. and warming up space is a problem.
But how do the soccer players do it, or football players do it? They do it
They
constantly,
benches,
right?
and yeah, they constantly can get up and down. But no, I just mean with these competitions, I don't know always what's in the organizer's mind as the priority, whether it's the location, because something near an airport, get more competitors, or somewhere near the city centre, or whatever it is they're looking for. But this one venue I've just gone to about a month ago, it was just horrendous. And the speakers that sort of announce who's next, what's next, so loud that your ears are going to burst. So when people want to get in the zone, as it's called, it's not going to happen in an environment. And I pulled a muscle in that competition. So yeah, dreadful.
Well, I guess that happens.
So yeah, this fighting sort of, it's taken forever, but I have to be patient. Like as I said, I can perform these skills in a sort of safe space, when I'm in a gym, with no pressure, but I can't perform in a ring.
Technically, you can do the way some people do it, that you simulate competition day, meaning that you actually, let's say, choose for training or sparring a day that you actually schedule almost the same as it would be a competition, meaning you get up at the same time, you go to the place at the same time, you sort of mix in these waiting hours in as well, and so you actually get acclimatized to that sort of environment. And when the real thing hits, it's not really that different
It's
anymore.
so hard to simulate though, because
Well, think about it this way: the mind is a powerful thing, right?
right.
And one of the things you can do is actually visualize things.
Okay.
So it's just a combination. Of course, it's not totally the real thing, but I would say if you do it 3 or 4 times in let's say in a space of 6 months, I would suppose you would be more comfortable in the real situation as well.
I mean, what I could potentially do, and this would sound so strange, but here goes. I'd go to the gym at 9 a.m. in the morning, which is around the time we get in the weighing scales at a competition, and I just sit at the reception and I just wait till 4 p.m. Just sitting there, doing nothing, staring at the wall, staring at my fingers, making some notes to myself, pacing up and down, sitting down, and at 4 o'clock, having a training session. That's literally the only way I could simulate it.
Yeah, why not?
How odd would I look though?
Well, you have to actually declare why you are doing it.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean
there would be
oh yeah, for sure. I'd look a weirdo if I was just
because I would guess that they would actually be more interested in it working out. Because that would be a nice.
There's physical space in the gym. There's always a reception area.
Because you brought up a nice topic when it comes not just actually to martial arts, but also for different types of competitions. The factor of the the unknown, right? So when you basically want to perform some skill, it's always best to have it as routine as possible. It literally is as the psychological aspect of performing, right? So of course there are certain things that you cannot copy or simulate. I mean, if it's a venue with 1,000 people, it would be difficult to have them on some training day. But other than that, I mean, when it comes to the venues, when it comes to the clothing, when it comes to the routines that you do, the warm-ups that you do, if you can copy it, the mind already settles into a sort of a zone, if you will, and then it's. I mean, because I think I don't know which, but I think chess players do that fairly enough. Which is basically they try to imagine the opponent, that the way it will be played, right? The perhaps the disturbances around them. So it's a matter of training, getting accustomed to these.
I mean, even
conditions.
Is the word physiologically the right physiological?
Yeah.
There's a problem because when I'm sat down at rest now, like my heart's beating quite slowly. There's no need for it to beat fast because I'm not placing any demands on myself. And then you're like, right, get up and start performing some high kicks. I'm gonna really struggle. And even on my days off, if someone I want to give them some tips, and then I suddenly start trying to demonstrate, it hurts because there's no blood flowing through these muscles or around ligaments or.
What if you just, again in your mind, just expect? I mean, because you can actually some way or another impact the blood flow with your stimulating thoughts.
Whoa! Yeah, I suppose
that's what it's mostly used for. Those how was the dude called? Emhoff or something like that. Basically, the dude who is I guess the world record holder for staying out for the longest in some ice block
under the
or something
water,
like that.
something like that.
It's in cold weather. Yeah. So and he basically says that it's just you are sort of navigating or directing your blood flow.
Yeah.
With
Funny
your mind.
enough, on that point, like one of the things I do to de-stress is I'll go to the sauna, and what makes me laugh is as I approach it, sometimes I'm already feeling sweat forming under my arms, like as if my body's anticipating.
To
you know,
where
the
you
sauna.
Go?
To de-stress, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes I will go, and I'll feel I'm sweating, like I feel sweat beads on me,
Mhm.
and I've not even stepped inside. So,
Sauna is always a problem.
but
I mean,
when you're in, you're gonna heat up. But I mean, as in, I'm walking there, and suddenly I'm starting to sweat.
yeah.
So it's like my body knows what is about to happen. So I could maybe kind of psych myself like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Anything that works.
One thing I do, and it was just so destructive, is to get angry or frustrated. I can't change the situation. It's what it is. I'm gonna.
What do you mean? Do you mean that you are intentionally getting frustrated?
Well,
or?
no. I'm like, why is this competition taking so long? And
Oh, well.
I'm getting agitated, if you know what I mean. And if I do that,
But do you sort of try to frame it constructively, or it's just negative thoughts and that's it?
I'm not sure. It's just I think it would be a case of I'm like, just not anger at anyone in particular or anything in particular, but just a sense of irritation. And I'm like, it doesn't help, and I realize it doesn't help. One other thing I could do is probably get someone to come to these competitions with me and have them sit in the ring, or sorry, around the ring, listening out for categories, while I could just go outside.
Seems to me that you would actually, in that case, be more inclined to think about them being bored or something like that.
No, if someone's consented to
Yeah,
help,
I would say there's a risk for you to feel guilty about bringing somebody and then being bored for them.
For them, well, it would really depend on how sort of giving they are. I mean, in many people's cases, their wife, their husband, their brother, their sister, their someone comes along and sort of helps out for the long road, because very few people become a success overnight. It takes time. And like I remembered one time a friend of mine, Lithuanian guy, was like, oh, can I come around for the weekend? And I was like, yeah, sure. I think he works in the London area, but he lives really far away, so he just didn't have the energy to drive back to the countryside and then be back in London for Monday morning. So I was like, hey, well, in return, you can come with me to the competition and you can be my eyes, so I can just be chilling in like a bench or something. And then imagine on Sunday morning, I'm up and ready to leave and he's fast asleep. And I'm like, fuck, how? It's like, why bother? If I just stay on my own, I know I'm going to be there, or I'm going to make it happen. But if I'm like, someone's saying they're going to help, and then my stress levels actually start to come down because I've got someone to have my back, and then they're not there, you know.
Well,
So-
you know that they are not doing it to hurt you, right? It's just that
I don't think it was,
sleep is some way or another at that
But I mean,
point. More
one other
important.
thing I could do is join a club again, because if you remember, I stepped away from all these clubs and was trying to do things on my own, because when I was in a club, your instructors sort of friends and enemies sort of play out over you, in the sense that, yeah, you can go to so-and-so's competition, or no, you can't go to so-and-so's competition because we're not friends with them. And I don't like that, because like even as you were like messaging me, say, hey, let's get going with the podcast, I'm just looking on Google and anything on Facebook, anyone's hosting a competition, I'm there, like I don't care. But I know if I was in a club, there would be the problems with, you don't.
Why is that?
Ego. No, I had to put it. It would be a case of, if someone was an apprentice.
How many Taekwondo competitions or clubs are there? I mean, it's not necessarily the
wouldn't have
most
thought there
popular
was
sport,
that
right?
many, but somehow these egos allow so many clubs to form. There are so many clubs out there.
Are those solely Taekwondo clubs?
They're taekwondo clubs, they're kickboxing clubs, and
Together?
all other clubs. No, so I'm saying they're names of a discipline,
Yeah.
but even within that generic name, there are a variety of clubs who use that name and they do their own thing with it, and they'll have their own events.
All right.
And I mean, for me, I'll just be like, yo, I'm a soloist. I've been a soloist for quite some time now. I've not fallen out with anyone because, put it simply, I'm kind of the underdog because I haven't got no one to be biased for me or anything. But if something's not to my liking, I just won't go again. I'm not going to yell about it. I'm not going to say, hey, you're a corrupt referee or whatever. I mean, I might have a few words with other participants, and you know, 9 times out of 10 they will say to me, you know, I agree with you, that competition was just a shambles. It was really noisy. We couldn't find anywhere to calm out and get a time, calm down and get a timeout, or we had nowhere to warm up, or the referee was allowing someone to be super violent or break the rules, you know. And I kind of move along those lines, but when you're in a club, and it's hard because the instructors kind of want to show they're the top dog kind of thing in the whole community, and
well, then they are not really instructors, right? Or at least.
But then the interesting thing is they have a follower. They have a sort of what do you call it?
It's so
a
difficult.
fan base almost. Yeah, it's funny.
But it's so difficult to imagine that. Let's say a Taekwondo club in London would have more than 100 members. It's so difficult to imagine that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, realistically, from club to club, I mean, the club I joined as a child had loads of members, but yeah, they all dwindle.
Even 2 years ago?
Oh, not now. Some of them, they'll dwindle down to as few as 10. And
yeah, that's because usually it's one or few families, basically, or friends and families. That's about it. So, but if you go to an MMA gym, probably packed. Or a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about the MMA sort of brand, because I feel it mixes up things that are really totally separate. And however, the brand has become so effective with marketing and sponsorships.
But this weekend you had you probably know Michael Page, right?
I've heard the name so many times.
Yeah,
I feel I should know more about him than I do.
but basically he is a mixed martial artist, but he comes from a karate, point karate background. So I think when you say it mixes things up that shouldn't be mixed, I think this dude and some others would be probably the best examples that maybe it's also that it can be done in a good way, the mixing, because he fights unlike most. Because usually when the guys fight in MMA, they are trying to almost square off, and maybe then they get just a takedown, right? So it's sort of the position that either I'll punch you or I'll grab you, right? Yeah. Whereas he's standing sideways and basically just jumping like in karate or taekwondo type of situation. So it's really difficult for the guys to do anything about it, right? Because if they come close, he will either kick them or punch them, right? And if they want to take him down, it's just the same. They'll get elbowed.
I mean, when I say it's mixing up things, it's a case of a club can set up on the high street, and you know, if it said it's a yoga club, then you go in and it's yoga. Or if they say it's a kettlebells, you know, those, if you see these kettlebells, some of these things are quite different. But when you say MMA, if it's not done well, I think someone could just put the brand on the front of a door and then
that's
get people
happens.
to come in. Yeah, that's the bit about it that concerns me.
Because usually it would be either jiu-jitsu or grappling. And that's about it. And maybe some kickboxing in between. Yeah, but that's definitely not the meaning of MMA in the sense. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
I should say a bit about my actual year with the Taekwondo. I've had a really interesting time. I went on a flight to it was to Italy, and I wet my passport because I put my passport in a bag with my water bottle, and I fell asleep.
Right.
Then the pilot, says we're now approaching the airport, like we're descending, blah blah blah. I open my bag and I see my passport soaking wet.
Oh.
And then the airline's like freaking out because
isn't it laminated?
You would have thought so if they were being designed to be sort of waterproof or future-proof.
At least the first pages, right?
The front of the page is laminated, but the back is just paper like this. And cut long story short, there's the ink stain, so my face isn't very clear. So then the airline was afraid because they can get fined when they fly people around the world and they get rejected at the other side. The airline is obliged to fly them back to the origin airport and pay €5,000. So airlines don't play with inky passports, so that's the word, or RIP passports or anything.
Yeah.
So when we get to London, and it was really fuss about nothing. The border guard was like, "Oh, what happened here?" And I was like, "Yeah, spilt water on it." And he's like, "Oh, it's fine, and you'll probably be fine in the EU area as well, because I looked you up on the EU database and I can still find you."
Wait a second, there's a central database for EU citizens?
Yeah. To say it briefly, you got this idea of a Schengen area now.
Yeah.
You cross the border into Estonia, or
But that's
into
also for Switzerland,
Lithuania.
which is not EU, right?
They've signed so many agreements amongst themselves, so they're not quite the EU, but in many ways they work alongside the
at least for the
European
border.
Union.
Yeah.
Right. So people think, I can cross the border from Latvia to Lithuania and not get stopped. So if I commit a crime here, I can run away. Not quite. As if you like, a compromise for the land border guards going away, they're working a lot more closely behind the scenes.
All right.
So they have databases they're working out of. They just ring one another up, and they'll just send the person back over the border if they said, "Hey, this person's a criminal, send them back." You see what I'm saying?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So the only problem is the UK isn't in Schengen area. So to
What? Are you sure?
I am positive about this. The
But
UK
I
is
can,
in
but
the
I can
European
fly.
Union.
But I can fly to UK without problems, right?
You can fly
So how?
without problems so long as you have an EU ID or an EU passport. Then it's almost the same again. Yeah, in the
But
EU.
that's also for all the Schengen area.
No,
that you need
in
to-
the Schengen area,
you still need
the border guards
passport.
are not normally there. If there's some fancy summit of NATO,
You
or-
confused me.
of the EU commissioners,
Yeah.
there will be passport controls in the Schengen area on the roads and in the airports. But the whole idea of the Schengen zone is for you to move around Latvia like you're moving around Germany, like you're moving around Spain.
All right.
And what was I going to say about this Schengen zone specifically? The airlines might ask you for ID, and this is because you can buy a ticket for like €10
All
to Berlin,
Yeah.
and you can sell it to me for €100, and the
Which-
airline's not
which-
making a profit. So
But
when
which wouldn't be bad, right? Still.
well, the airline's not making the €90 profit. It's you or me. So if people would buy tickets up in bulk and sell them on,
that would be nice.
it would be great for the person who has the idea. The airlines would be angry because they want to make the money. Like if you officially call the airline and say, "Hey, I'm not making the journey,"
But why wouldn't the airlines themselves do that?
they do. So I'm saying, if you have a ticket you don't use anymore, if you want to give it to me, you ring the airline, and for €120, you or I have to pay them to change Lauris to Ronald. Literally, that's all they do. But it's money in their pockets. So if I'm saying, for this reason, when you fly, and this is probably anywhere in the world, the airline is asking you for the ID to check, okay, you've got this ID and the ticket says you as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, because let's say if you want to go to by train, I think you don't need to provide an ID, right?
It's all changed. Angela Merkel's immigration policies changed that now. Border guards have come back. And which I'll come to that point when I explain about what happened after the passport. So the border guard kind of just said to me, keep using it. And with that in mind, I booked a flight to Holland. And that was with EasyJet actually. And I went to Gatwick to fly to Holland. And then I got bounced. They're like, "No, we're not letting you fly on that passport because you're going to get deported back here." And I'm like, I'm really confused, because this same passport I'm showing you was with the border guard, and he told me I'd be fine, or at least I should be fine. And they're like, no, you're going to get deported. And by this time, I've already said, you know what, I'm going to Holland one way or the other.
Right.
And then I thought, hitchhiking, because other than the water
Guess so.
between UK and France, Holland's not that far away. So I went down to the highway from London to Dover, which is the border crossing. And then I went to Dover, through several people's cars. I got to Dover now, and as a lorry. I waved at him and he stopped. I was like, whoa, I thought I'd be here forever. And then he's like, yeah, I'll take you to Belgium.
What's a lorry?
A lorry is a long truck.
Ah.
It was like...
How come they're called lorries and not just trucks?
British English calls them lorries. I think American English calls them trucks.
Yeah, all right.
But
I get
it's interchangeable.
Okay.
What? And you'd call the driver a trucker, I think, in America.
And in
UK, a lorry driver.
all right.
So, yeah.
All right.
So he was driving from the UK to Serbia, and he said he'd take me to Belgium. And I looked at the map.
Did you know what he was carrying?
He was driving chocolate. And
from UK to Serbia.
UK to Serbia. Well, this is what these trucks carry. They'll be
Damn.
carrying medicines or car parts, anything. It really depends on.
Chocolate seems so trivial.
Maybe there's a specific brand that is manufactured.
I would
in the
guess
UK.
they had some drugs in between.
I don't know.
That could make sense. But
I've met
just
quite
chocolate?
a few truck drivers with chocolate. I can only
Seems
take them at
suspicious.
their words.
Seems suspicious.
You should work at customs.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, you just got chocolate. Huh?
Another chocolate lorry, I guess.
Right. I know what you mean though. You'd think almost you'd have high value sort of stuff in
Yes.
the lorry.
Yes.
But hey,
Especially if you go to Serbia.
this is the funniest thing. So I was relieved I was in Belgium because it's the next country to Holland. Hitchhiking's not that simple. I was on the
What
road
do you mean?
facing south. So Belgium going south to Luxembourg. If you
Okay.
had a map in front of you, see what I was talking about.
Okay.
And I was actually wanting to go northeast.
All right.
I was stuck on the highway for about 9 hours. And
In
then
Belgium?
In Belgium. But I was like, hey, I've
Because
got
of
to
what?
the continent. People are driving in different directions. And with hitchhiking, if they're going your way, great. If they're not, then you're going to have some
Did you
problems.
have a sign?
I never had a sign. People were talking to me. They were just not going to Brussels. I wanted to go Brussels, which was kind of northeast of where I was. They were all driving south or east. And in the end, the police officer was driving through the station. I was like, whoa, am I bothering anyone? He was like, no, you're good. But you could literally be here forever. Like, if you got money. I was like, yeah, I do. And he's like, I'll take you to the train station and you can take a train to Brussels. Then I actually stayed with a guy I'd hosted in London. And interestingly, I messaged him when I was stranded in the highway. It's like, dude, I'm in your country and I'm stranded. And then I was like, did you get my message? He's like, yeah, I did. And I was like, that's not really cool in my head. I was thinking was when anyone messaged me, whether they've saved me before or not, period, I would message be like, whoa, let me try and think of a way out of your situation. And he just not really responded to me. Like I had to call him up and then I guess he's like, yeah, I got your message. And that kind of changed my mind about hosting completely. And I actually don't really.
Did you
host
ask
as
him
much.
about it?
I didn't want to sweat on it, but it was just more the principle. Like, if I'd hosted anybody and I'd known something was wrong, I couldn't go to sleep and just say, "Oh, it's not my problem." So,
it's I guess sometimes depends on the question being asked. So you messaged him saying,
I messaged him. We ended up meeting.
I'm interested in staying with you.
Well, I didn't actually say that. I just said I'm stranded in Belgium, which is your country, and like for him to maybe message me and say, "Hey, well, what you need to
I
do
would have
is-"
probably said almost. Well, I would have responded, but yeah, if I wouldn't have anything particular to offer,
If
it's
you'd
just
say,
that. All right, FYI, I guess then.
Where are you? Where you're trying to get to? So like, if you'd messaged me randomly, said, "Hey, I'm in Manchester," and I'm like, "Okay, are you trying to get to London? Are you trying to get further north?"
I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean.
He didn't respond at all, and that was what bothered me. Then I phoned him in the morning when I was in Brussels. I didn't actually need him to stay. I just wanted to actually see him, like reciprocal basis, saying, "Oh, hey, I see you in your city now," and we did. We had a coffee, but it was just kind of like in the back of my head, it's like that wasn't cool that he didn't respond.
No, you don't have to view it that way. I would suggest it's just a matter of being more direct from you. I mean, just being more direct.
So I could have said to him, "Why didn't you respond?"
No, you could have said in the first message, "Hey, I'm stranded. Can you help me?"
But he's
Or
in
something like
Brussels, and I was in somewhere called Tournai, far away.
But
And it was
yeah,
3 a.m.
just don't take the next steps. in logic as common as it should be, right?
Fair
It's just you should basically tell people what you expect from them, so they can respond directly with either yes or no or anything. Yeah.
I spent most of the year hitchhiking in that fashion. I got from London, UK to Ukraine, London, UK to Slovenia, Romania. Did quite a lot of it. Going back towards the UK wasn't so much fun at times because, for example, when I was crossing through Germany, which you almost always will, it's a huge country in the middle of Europe, the border guards, it's like they were glaring at me. And it was
in Germany?
Yeah, and it was like, for me, what annoyed me was...
Wait a second, but where do they have border guards in Germany?
Because Angela Merkel made an invitation to the whole wide world to move to Germany.
All right, Syria, yes.
Yeah.
So?
Many people from anywhere have just tried their luck to go to Germany.
But you can, if you are in the Schengen zone, we can just now.
Not people in the Schengen zone. People...
No.
From Africa, people from the Middle East.
Yeah, but that's not the border. Then you have to go to Greece to find.
But
the border.
they literally gone over the land. Greece, Serbia, Hungary, Austria, Germany.
So they are in the Schengen zone already.
But they didn't arrive to the Schengen zone with passports or valid visas.
Yeah.
They've just crossed the border and the EU frontier illegally and made their way over land. And it's the quantity of people.
So where do they find? I mean,
there are people smugglers out there.
No. But where do the German border guards find the people coming in?
On their designated border crossings.
What?
What
are
Germany and Austria have a border for hundreds of kilometers, but at certain points there's a major highway crossing the border.
Because otherwise it's just mountains, right?
Mountains or fields or anything.
All right.
Maybe they're crossing through the fields as well, so they don't get detected. But I'm saying at the official sort of road checkpoints, the Germans have reappeared, and the Austrians as well. Like where the buses will cross.
I guess then if you are in a Syrian refugee, you just need to make a little bit of an extra mile across Poland.
Yeah. However, some people are taking this Flixbus. I don't think it's made it to the Baltic countries yet, but there's this bus company from Germany. It's all over the west of Europe called Flixbus, from Italy to Germany.
Sounds a little bit weird.
UK to
Flixbus?
That's its name. But I've read that hundreds, even thousands of refugees or people who want to go to Germany just take this bus.
But then they are not really immigrants, refugees, right? They are just immigrants.
Well, this is the problem. I would have told the Germans for free if they cared what I thought, that you plan these things. I mean, what she could have done is told anyone to go to the German embassy in Turkey or in Jordan, which I'm sure they have embassies there, and said, hey, here's my situation, my name is blah blah blah, my age is blah blah blah, can I come to Germany, this is all my information you need to know. And on this basis, she could have given them travel documents which allowed them to fly.
I think they do that
but this wasn't the way she advertised her policy. She just said come to Germany, and it wasn't clear. So
I don't know if she said come to Germany. I just know that we will try to help people who come to Germany.
I don't know how it was said.
Humanitarian approach.
Yeah, it was a humanitarian, but I'm saying the consequences is many thousands of people have tried to go to Germany. So
millions of people.
Yeah, and the country can't cope. And my
liberal
German
Germany
friends
is a big country.
Oh, we're an economic powerhouse. We have money, and I'm like, irrespective of that, there comes a point where you just become oversaturated. No, we'll be fine.
Germany is really... I mean, I think you could actually double the population of Germany in one night and they'll be fine.
I don't know. But anyway, they're putting that to the test right now. And clearly it's not working because the border guards do anything they can to not let you in. And even if you're arriving...
But they are fine if you stay in Austria.
Oh, Austria's brought in the checks too.
Ah.
But you can't imagine how long the border crossing took on a bus.
Yeah.
1 hour.
That's not that much.
That is a long time. I mean, if the border guards are just saying, hey, ID, next person, ID, next person, then we're talking maybe 5 minutes. They took everyone's ID off the bus into their office.
Yeah, it's a regular procedure. Yeah,
it depends.
I remember when we had to go, let's say, to Lithuania, it's the same.
When was
And-
this? Before the
Before the EU, yeah.
Schengen.
Yeah.
That's different because you were sovereign states where you had your separate
I think-
territories.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean, but,
But
still.
under Schengen, or
Yeah.
under EU, sort of within the EU area, especially in the Schengen area, the border guard should be doing the bare minimum of checks, which is even next person. But they, I think, went
if
into
you are
office.
trafficking something, if you are doing some illegal stuff, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I just personally, I would try and avoid going through the southern border of Germany now, especially as a non-white person, because I think if you're white, oh, he's white, yeah, he can come in. But they literally, it's like they profile the cars coming over the border.
I guess they should be more aware of, dark-skinned people coming from Syria or something like that. That's for sure.
But it's just anybody who's not white now, they stop. Even Eastern European countries,
I think Chinese people are good to go.
I
think
didn't really see them on the highway at all.
Yeah, because they don't really immigrate that much, right?
Oh boy, but it wasn't fun. Like in terms of looking back at the beginning, it was a real adventure. And in the end, an airline got me a new passport a few weeks ago because
That's an interesting airline.
right. I don't think I should name them because I tried to fly back to the UK on the passport. And it was just a catastrophe. I mean, many times I was successful because, as I said, I was flying back to the country of the passport. If you're flying out, is a big problem because it can be rejected. But I was in Italy, and then the stupid woman on the desk, on the gate, like I hate the gate agents at these airports. They just don't seem to have any brains. They checked everyone's passport and boarding pass at about 3 p.m. and the flight wasn't until 4:40.
Alright.
And she was clearly aware there was an ink stain on my passport, but she's like, should be fine. There's always a scramble for everyone to get on an airplane first. I don't see what the hurry is, so I just chill and I wait until the end, and then I get on the plane. I got on the plane, and then when I tried to, she said, "Oh, can I have your passport?" Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to call my supervisor. Just be a minute. And I'm thinking, you're kidding me. Because if the supervisor now decides she's not happy, you've cost me the flight. Whereas before, if she'd done something with it, then, you know what, there was time to play around with. Now the supervisor wanted to call the British Embassy because she said she wanted to check I wouldn't get deported if I tried to fly back. And I'm like, I didn't argue. And this is the thing. I would say, after this ordeal I had, I tell anyone if they know they're in the right to just yell and scream. But I thought, you know what, I'm in safe hands because she's been doing this job a long time. No, just shambles. So she's ringing the embassy and she doesn't even seem to know what she's saying to them. So I'm like, great, you're just making the border guard more paranoid because if someone has a passport or a document that says they're from a country, they don't need to ask the country, can I come in? It's just not needed. But if you do ring up the country, oh, can he come in? Then you're almost calling the document into doubt. Anyway, the border guard asked for a scan, scanned it, and I had my driver's license too. And then the border guard actually has this, and she's like, "Oh no, I want him off the plane, and I want to talk to him before I give him permission to fly."
The embassy?
So now, apparently there's a border guard at the embassy. Because I was thinking, why not call the London airport I'm about to fly to? It would have kind of made more sense. But hey, it was the embassy, and the embassy had a border guard inside. And what happened? I thought I was gonna have like a 2-hour interview, like a really, really sort of thorough. Who you? How much money have you got? This, that. Literally, when I got off the plane, back to the pavement, if you like. She was like, "Hey, name, date of birth, address. Oh yeah, you can fly now." I'm like, is this a joke? Plane's gone. That was the only plane to London today, and I only came to this airport. It was in Italy, because it was a cheap flight from this airport. I don't actually know where I am. I just know I'm in somewhere called Verona, and I have 30 euros to my name, and I'm like, in a really bad situation now. She's like, "Oh, can you call the consulate because they're really good at these things?" And I'm like, I'm speaking to the embassy, and if this is the embassy, why the hell would I talk to the consulate? It's just useless. And not only that, is when the consulate save you in terms of they buy you a new flight, they'll chase you back for that money. They didn't do it to be nice. And there was, even in it's kind of an extreme case, there was some women who are British citizens, and the family tried to fly them to Asia to do these forced marriages,
Right.
and the women escaped and went to the embassy for help to get a flight back to the UK.
Hmm.
And the embassy bought them the flights, but told them they needed to be repaid. So that just told me categorically, I'm not able to expect anything from them. And with these bloody compositions, I'm always asking loans from people and stuff. So I was like, I've already asked loans from people, so I'm not borrowing money from any more friends. And then she's like, oh, can you call your family? I was in foster homes, so family doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm really worried about you. I just didn't even want to talk to her anymore. It was that annoying. All right, now, and then the ladies in the airport, she's like, oh yeah, you're British. And I'm like, that doesn't help me now. I've lost the flight, but whatever. Then I went to the ticket office, or I wasn't sure where the ticket office was. I asked a lady at the check-in desk, where's the ticket office? She took me, she's like, yeah, we really have to help you because we know what happened. We feel terrible about it.
Hmm.
Went to the ticket office now, and then I was being offered the flight to Frankfurt. It was the only one they had. It was 250 euros. I went, great, doesn't even get me back to the UK, and I was 250 euros for that. And I'm thinking about what to do. Then the woman who brought me to the ticket office, she comes running back. Oh, I wouldn't be buying any tickets if I were you, because we don't know if we're going to let you fly anywhere, and you'll just be wasting your money. And I literally felt my anger levels almost going to explode. And I just said, show me to the door, I'm leaving this airport.
Hmm.
Got to outside, I'm thinking, what do I do? And Italy, per their law, doesn't allow hitchhiking. It's not allowed.
What?
It's their law. Just have to respect it. There's a sign on the highway, no hitchhiking.
What is the consequence?
Well, the police will pull you over and fine you and blah, blah, blah. So, and not only that, I didn't actually plan to be hitchhiking there. So a road could be going to Slovenia, it could be going to South Italy, it could be going to Switzerland, it could be going to France. I just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I ended up going and seeing there was a bus to Germany, and I just snuck onto the bus with all the other passengers. And then I was finally in Germany, and then I kind of blew my cover, is that the word? Yeah, because I kept saying to the driver, oh, I'm looking for a good place to leave the bus on the highway because I want to hitchhike. And he was like, dude, can I see your ticket? I was like, oh dear. And then I just got out of that bus as quickly as I could. Luckily, it was in Cologne.
Hmm.
Cologne, I know roughly how to get to the UK by road from there.
Yeah.
And it was a snowstorm, and I wasn't dressed for snow. I actually made it back to the UK, but then I just complained to the airline, and I was like, I've never come across such useless staff, because many things could have been done.
How did you get back to the UK?
I hitchhiked from Germany.
Oh.
Yeah, just asked people, and you have to be clever about it. You can't say, "Oh, I'm in Germany. I'm going to go to the UK." People just stare weird at you, like there's like the flights up there. So I just have to say, I'm going to a city in the west of Germany. Yeah, and when I get to the west of Germany, I'm crossing the border into Belgium. Oh, okay, I'm going to that city in Belgium. And then when I got to that city in Belgium, then I was like, I can just say London now, because people are going to be going that way. But it was just, so many things could have been dealt with. So that situation could have been dealt with much better for an instance.
But the reason for all of it was the Inky passport?
Yeah, I didn't want to replace it.
Well, look at it this way. I mean, if you are a bureaucrat and something gets in the formalities, it's, of course, the people are the sufferers, right? That's for sure. But it's just think about it when you would be in their shoes, in a sense.
The woman was an idiot. Okay, if I was in Italy and I wanted to fly to the United States or to Japan on that passport, she had every right to be concerned, because those nations don't have an obligation to to let me in. I'm not there on VIP business. I'm not a citizen of those countries. So yeah, they could, or they would actually say, hey, airline, you're going to take that guy straight back, and we're going to charge you to 5,000 euros because you know you shouldn't be doing this. But it's the fact she was saying, well, if I fly this British passport holder back to the UK, this passport holder is going to get bounced back to Italy. Like, is she stupid? I mean, the only thing that comes even slightly close to where your country can deport you is there's this current story in the news right now. There's this terrorist group, ISIS, in Syria.
All right.
This young British girl. She was maybe 15, 16. Hey, I'm going to go and join ISIS. She went out there. She's pregnant now.
To Syria?
Yeah. She's had the baby
That's
out
impressive.
there. Right. But she wants to come back.
Damn, that's impressive.
But she made it one way or the other. Do you think she should be able to come back?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. She alone.
Well, with the baby as well.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, what's going on upstairs in her head?
Yeah, but what will she do? I mean, nothing.
Dude.
If you are concerned, you just check up on her. But other than that,
have you got an idea how expensive it is for a police officer to check up on her? That's like a designated officer.
No, none at all. I mean, it's, when it comes to former criminals, they check up on them once in a while.
She was in a group that was beheading people and throwing their heads in the bin.
I don't think that most of ISIS terrorists do that.
Right? And she was married to one of them.
I think most of ISIS terrorists just sweep floors.
And
honestly,
you're saying she can just come back to the UK, no problems?
Yes, yes.
And you have no concerns?
I mean, do you have anything that would be incriminating her for a crime?
Potentially, but no, I'm saying she's very radicalized, quite likely.
Dude, if you would ask some people about you, they would say you are radicalized, traveling around the world and, doing things that ordinary people don't do.
Beheading people?
But did she behead people?
Well,
seems like she made people.
In a group.
You know what I mean?
Where the beheadings, I think the men were doing the violence, but she's physically there and there's someone's head on the floor.
But do you know that about her, or do you just assume that about her?
I just think it's a big risk, personally. I think it's a massive, massive risk.
Well, depends on the situation. If she just said that I was in ISIS and I was
for
in
many
Syria,
years,
yes, and I just want to come back with my child, and you don't have any other information, then it seems to me fair enough that she comes back.
would you let her come to Latvia?
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Well, I mean, there's no real reason if I don't have anything incriminating her.
Okay.
It's
and it doesn't even slightly concern you.
Think about it this way. How do I know that you are not beheading people when you are outside of Latvia? Maybe you are just a criminal on the run.
Wow, and I've been beheading people for almost 1 year.
Yes, yes. That's why you sneak into buses without tickets.
Okay, so she's cool for you. But coming back to the original point now, this is the only kind of situation where the British government can say, hey, this person is not coming in, even though they're a British citizen.
All right, but I guess they have their own manual, right?
It's really difficult because if they took her passport off her, she'd be stateless.
Yeah.
And countries aren't allowed to make citizens stateless,
well,
lacking any statehood.
But a passport doesn't necessarily mean that you are the lack of a passport doesn't mean
citizenship. Sorry,
yeah,
taking the citizenship away.
But she would have still citizenship, right?
There's a debate about taking it from her.
Just because she was in Syria?
She was in a terrorist group in Syria.
Yeah, but see, that's my point. How do you actually determine that? I mean, it's not like you filled in out an application, right? It's not like you got an ID card saying ISIS terrorist member since.
I mean,
it's just what I'm saying.
I'm thrilled for her that she has someone fighting her corner, because British people right now are tearing their hair out.
Fighting her
corner, like as in you're protecting her.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, back off, leave her alone. She's mine. She's my
No,
homie.
it's just it's not about her in particular. It's about a principle about whether or not you know somebody is a criminal or not, right? She's innocent until proven guilty, in a sense.
Well, no one at this point in time has said she's done any of the killing herself.
Yeah,
it's just the fact she's around that. Like,
dude, crazy bitches are all over the place. It's just that whether or not you would like to know anything about them in particular. If they don't go running around and killing people, but yeah, maybe just banging killers.
As an example there, or as a comparison, would you invite Angela Merkel's immigrants in Germany to Latvia?
I guess so, yes. I would send them near the border to Russia.
Okay.
Yes.
Why in that part of the country? Less population?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a little bit of Well, sort of a population boost in a sense also.
Okay.
Because economically, there's nothing to do many times there. So if you have more people, maybe there are just more opportunities. Even if they are just contraband, still something.
So you'd feel safe with these kind of people around you. If like
Look at it this way. I would feel safe in Latvia, yes. But if I'm in economically established countries like Germany or Scandinavian countries, no. Then I would not, because I would have more things that they could steal from me.
I mean,
see what I mean?
Maybe, but I just
But
feel
here
like
in Latvia, hey, go ahead. What you will steal? Some oaks?
there's very little information about what she's doing out there, or many of the people who've been crossing into Europe.
Yes.
So I would just be afraid, just because I don't know who I'm dealing with.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think at least a tenth of the people who go outside of the Schengen area to some remote parts of the world, I think they are going there specifically to either get their freak on or do something that they would be probably in jail for in the Schengen area.
I don't know.
It's just that,
if
why else would you go
or
to
this
some...
girl had gone there and just said, "Oh, I've got a photo of me in a field where people are being murdered and I'm coming back."
Yeah.
I don't really think it would have been a problem. She spent 3 or 4 years there. No.
It really depends. I mean, I don't know about her in particular. It's just that,
Okay.
yeah, if you have evidence, good.
If the UK
if not,
doesn't
then
want to let her
there's
in,
there's
you can
reasonable
start
doubt.
You can start a petition to say, "Hey, she can come to Latvia."
Because ISIS is not a real organization. It's just something we call people who are grouped together for idiotic causes, meaning terrorism and probably some other nonsense.
Yeah, no, I do definitely think it's a sort of Western construct, the name. But I just don't know. I feel she's a bit unstable. And to have that kind of person walking past you in the road or with a knife, anything could happen.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in Britain with the knife thing. I heard that they had some increase in crime, specifically with knives.
Knives, there's a lot of
Sounds
knife
cheesy.
crime. Yeah,
Sounds corny.
it's just what it is. There's a lot of knife crime in the UK.
But is it from locals or immigrants? Are
I
Pakistanis stabbing people or
no,
just
I would actually
some London
say it's
pubbers?
black youth, to be honest.
How come?
I'm just constantly seeing their photos in the paper.
Do they like knives? I mean, how many people who have knives? Just
it's
because
really
those are not
hard
kitchen knives,
to,
right?
like,
Those are specifically combat knives.
It's really hard to explain because I just think it's stupid. Like,
Because every time I hear that, I just think of the Ali G bit. You know the show, right? Ali G, where he had some police officer showing him different street crime things, and then he just, what's that? That's wicked. I just think of that thing.
I don't remember this sketch, but no, I mean,
I'll show you.
with people doing these knife crimes. I mean, I'll give you an example. What happened to me personally?
Yeah.
I was in this area called Tottenham, kind of the hood, and
The hood.
these black guys wanted to stab me.
Here he is.
All right.
So maybe.
Yeah. So I can multitask while I'm watching the video.
All right, because this is a 3 minutes.
Pig.
Let me just. What is that? That's wicked.
Aye. What is that? I've never seen that before. What is that? Is that well dangerous if you go like that? And then like flick that around. What is that?
Dangerous any way you look at it, isn't it? I mean, it's got a sharp point, it's got a blade.
That is mental, man. I ain't never seen anything like that. How would you carry that like that? Or so like. So what about this? Is this well dangerous? That is wicked. What is that? I've never seen that before. What is that?
Yeah,
Is that
so
well?
this the knife bit.
Funny times. Yeah. So you've got different postal codes. In America, they call them zip codes.
Yeah.
I was in the wrong postcode. These guys told me, black guys just like me, hey, we're from this postcode and you're not. Therefore,
How
we're
did they
going to
know?
stab you. They asked me like what area I was from, and I gave the wrong answer. All you can do is laugh. It's that cringe. But this
but that's just. I mean, don't they have anything useful to do?
But it's just
Other than asking people zip codes.
barbarians, savages is all I'm. It's the
Yeah,
only
but
way I can explain
but
it.
what do they do? I mean, in the sense, how can you even come up with such? Because I've heard of territory defending, yes, but
Mhm.
only in those situations where somebody is trying to actually, do some nonsense in there.
Yeah.
So you gather up your people, and then but it's just random people asking, or other random people, hey, what's your zip code?
And you can be stabbed over that. You can be stabbed, actually.
Man, that's just stupid.
So this is it. So when I'm seeing
See,
these stories,
so I would be more worried about these fools than about the Syrian pregnant.
oh, then no one
about
likes
the Syrian
them.
priggle,
No one likes them. But I think on the level of
unless themselves.
outrageousness of what they're doing, it's just you can open it. Another black stabbing. Oh, another black stabbing. It's just no one really even cares anymore. It's that bad. But I'm saying with this girl in Syria, she's newsworthy. They both are newsworthy issues.
It's sort of more exotic, right?
Yeah,
so to
it's
say
a more
somebody went to Syria,
yeah, and
then
they
get
was
pregnant.
seeing beheadings. Yeah, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
They're both undesirable sort of things you want in your society.
Yeah, and those zip code stabbers, they are more dangerous.
But what makes me
Sure.
laugh is when these guys die, you should see the family. Oh, he was a good guy. Oh, he was a family man. Everyone loved him.
I'm not sure whether or not that's the case.
This is what makes me laugh. The family just
No,
crying.
I mean,
They're like, "Oh, he was-"
but even the family, I'm not sure
But
they're so
the family
hypocritical.
will stare in the camera of the BBC or whatever. Oh, he'll be missed. He was so amazing. He was the best father.
maybe in the camera, yes, maybe in the camera. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think the family knows what's up.
But
It's not like they're.
I don't know
hypocrites.
how they do it on the camera. I'm sure they know what's up.
Well, I don't know how to actually describe it, but I think most people are sort of a little bit sociopathic on camera. I mean, in a sense that I don't know what really would define sociopathic or not, but as what I'm saying is that once you put a camera on a person, he tries to actually not behave like himself most of the time, but actually what he expects other people for him to be.
Like, experimenter effect. It's been said before.
Experimenter effect?
Yeah, it's been said before
In what
another
sense?
way that you put someone under an observation
Yeah.
and then for an example, to school.
Why is it an experimental
Because
effect?
if you do an experiment on a group of people
It would be more.
and you tell the people, so for example, if
Wouldn't it be better called the observer's effect?
maybe, but I'm saying in an experiment in a laboratory,
Yeah.
scientists will add some sodium here, then he'll add some chlorine here,
All right,
and then you get salt, right?
all right.
But I'm saying when you do it to a human, and you're saying I'm going to do this to you, and I'm going to do that to him,
Yeah.
you're actually experimenting as an effect because you're telling the actors what's going to happen. Whereas if you just was quiet and you observed and then you told them afterwards, then you're only an observer. But if you're telling the people what's going to happen,
Yeah, but on camera you don't tell them anything. You just want to capture them.
I suppose.
And then they are just feeling somehow or another that they should be acting in a sense
but
and
it's
talking
different
in a way.
in terms of ethics. If someone is a sociologist or some kind of researcher, the ethics are better if they tell the audience or the participants exactly what they are
If
involved
that's
in.
for research purposes, yes. But
Yeah.
if for a TV interview, it's
Maybe
just
not.
that,
Yeah.
oh, look at this dude. What are you saying about this?
Yeah.
Well, I saw it recently, whatever. It's just that they don't act naturally,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And I think that effect has definitely been described as something in psychology, but I would guess it's more of a sociopathic tendency,
Perhaps.
because you sort of want to manipulate the attention of the observers or the listeners, right? It's not like you want them to see you.
Mm-mm.
It's like you want them to see the facade of you, right?
Understood.
So
Yeah,
I
I
guess,
get it.
but in those cases, I don't think those people view themselves in the moment as hypocrites or as some sellouts. It's just that, yeah, that's what you do on camera, right? In a sense, so they rationalized it, and then once the camera's off, then they say, yeah, he kind of deserved to be dead. In a sense.
For these families, I've seen many of them pursue this line for so long. Not even just for the camera, but on and on and on. I know it is funny.
Yeah,
it's
an observation, for sure.
But I'm saying it makes me angry because if almost family, and they don't in these situations, they never call out the bad behaviour of the child or of whoever. How will you correct it if he was an angel? Like, for an example, while the family is saying he's an angel, there's photos of this guy making gun signs on Facebook, and he's 14 years old, a handful of cash. And he's 14 years old, and on Facebook he's waving the cash.
Seems like he had good business sense. Why not?
Well, the allegations were these boys would be selling drugs and illegal stuff, and I can almost believe it.
Does actually selling cannabis count as drugs? In
the UK it does.
But it should be right about now.
Levels of classification.
Yeah, right about now it should be changing, right?
No, Prime Minister Theresa May is not changing the law.
But it seems that all of Europe is getting swept with
She's not
reforms.
All of Europe.
Well, but once you will be Brexiting, I guess some changes might happen.
Even
in
still,
that sense.
she's a conservative. The Conservatives keep things as they are. They don't really experiment. It's the Liberals who will say, hey, let's take away the drug laws.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Brexit brings us onto that topic.
Sure.
I don't know if I told you how I voted.
I would have guessed you voted for Brexiting.
Yeah, I voted for Brexit. In hindsight, there was a lot of things to consider that I didn't consider, but I still would have voted for Brexit because my reasons themselves didn't change. My reasons were that a British citizen 20 years ago, maybe a little less, had a daily wage, an evening rate, a weekend rate, Christmas rate. These were all paid at a premium, and they had things like holiday pay, so they could go away from their job for up to a month a year.
Which is still the case, right?
Not like it was. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of job seekers from European Union countries who all go to London or to the UK looking for opportunities. British employers say, oh, hey, there's just so many people looking for a job now. Why will I give good conditions? Because anyone will be happy for this job. So the certainty with full-time work is gone. Many jobs, like guys delivering the parcel for the parcel company or caring for the elderly, many industries will literally be told day by day how many hours, if any, the employer is going to give to them. And I think that's not a way one can function.
Do you mean cheap labor?
Well, it's cheap labor for the employer because they don't have to guarantee the amount of hours of work or rate of pay. So hours of
but it's
paid
still
hours.
Official most of the time, right? It's not like they could actually neglect the labor laws, right?
It would be a case of the employer calling you on Sunday night and saying, hey, I have a job for you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I don't have a job for you tomorrow morning. And you're sitting here and you're waiting. That's what a lot of jobs are like in the UK now. For me, it actually works really well because when I don't have shifts or I avoid the shifts, it will be the times I can go to these competitions, if that makes sense or not.
So you have a shift working?
I have a shift working job, but for people who want to buy a house, who have children, it's not a good way to work. But most of the jobs are like that now. And
can you tell me a place where it's not the case?
Well, a school teacher in the school.
No, I mean generally in countries.
Oh, in countries. France didn't allow this, and this is the ironic thing because I'm saying
France has, I think, a third of immigrants in general.
No. I mean, where the workers' rights were protected. UK, when all these additional job seekers came to the UK, the government didn't pressure the firms and say, hey, you have to pay a good wage still. They just let the firms do what they
But
like.
minimum wage still exists, right?
The minimum wage is there, but I'm saying it's not really enough to live on in some of the British cities, especially London.
Sure.
I'm saying, but this is the problem. It's all that's being offered for many industries.
Well, the industry the industry is not that profitable, I guess.
No, you'd be surprised. Many of these industries are making very good money, but they just know they can make even more money by paying low wages.
Which is, I mean, England or Great Britain in general, I guess, is the hub of exploitative capitalism for the recent 2.5 century.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest things about Brexit, it's like there's arguments for the Remain, there's arguments for leave. Like there was one typical example of a bus driving around saying, if we leave the European Union, we'll have £350 million available for the NHS, something like that. And many people voted to leave just because of the bus driving around with this slogan. Good
marketing.
Yeah, but it was funny because when the vote came through and the slogan wasn't proven to be true, some people are like, oh, they should be a new vote because we were misled.
That's what happens.
Right, I agree. I don't want there to be another vote. That's been talked about a lot by many different people.
Is it even possible? I mean,
government could call one if they wanted to.
So they would have to go the same procedure as for the first one, and if that passes, then they could actually make another vote, right?
But this is the problem: is if the vote just keeps happening again and again, people say it will lose value. When it happened the first time, the government were not actually following the result. They were saying it was just advising them what people think. So this is what they could use to ignore the result. That it was an advisory referendum. It wasn't a binding one.
But it was a binding one, right?
It was advisory. The problem is the government's already started to leave. They've started to leave the European Union. So
because the referendum told them to.
Referendum was advisory, but they still
officially.
It was advisory. It wasn't binding.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but the way the government have behaved, it was like it was binding. So this is why some people say it's gone too far now. But there's less than 6 weeks to go, and no one really knows. And this was the thing. I think a lot of the politicians were a lot of the politicians were Remain leaning. And for this reason,
what do you mean
Remain leaning? They were persuaded to stay in the European Union.
Yep.
They didn't want to leave the European Union. But it's the same people who are for remaining who have to do the leaving process, carry out the leaving process. I don't think that works very well, personally.
Well, then you should just get Nigel Farage doing all the work, right?
But this is the thing. I genuinely think he should have been in charge because he was the one who seemed to have the clear vision for Brexit.
Sure.
But then the minute the vote was over, he just disappeared. He didn't stay.
Did he? Really?
Well, he's somewhere, but he's not asked for a front seat. He's just sitting in the shadows.
Well, anyway, he's counting his money.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's done well. But I mean, the arguments for remaining, they were just to me a bit mixed in terms of there are people who will say if you leave the EU, the European nurses and doctors will leave, and then might be a shortage of staff.
Well, in some instances, yes, because usually they say that the low-level jobs, the low-skilled labor is usually from immigrants.
Yes.
Because the local ones don't really want to do that.
But here's the funny thing about that to me. The people living in the UK, even now during the EU membership, they're seeing the local hospital close. They're having to travel really far for specialist treatment. They ring the doctor for an appointment in the morning. There might not be any appointments for them. So when people are saying, oh, the NHS or the workers are going to leave and the NHS is going to suffer if you vote for leave. I'm like, people were already struggling with NHS in some areas anyway.
Well, it's not really related to the migration policy, right? It's more related to the
management.
Government
I know.
thinking neoliberally too much.
I know, but what I mean is, if people already had poor access to the health service under the European membership, how can you scare them that, oh yeah, if you leave, there won't be any membership?
Oh, well, yeah, I see what you mean.
You see what I mean? Yeah. No membership. There won't be. There will be poor quality healthcare. They already have poor quality healthcare. The same.
Funny enough, Latvian woman told me that because I told her, well, and yeah, that the way that the system works should be that basically in Britain the free healthcare is not that quality oriented.
Right.
She said, no, it's really good. And so, all right, maybe I don't know much about it.
It depends. Again, if you're living in an area under less pressure, you will get the treatment that you're looking for. But there's some areas that are under higher pressure. She may just live in an area under low pressure, or she may have low expectations or high expectations. We don't know. There's so many factors to think about. Like, one of the slogans being said now is leaving the EU with a no deal will make people poorer. Like I just said to you 5 minutes ago, or whenever it was, if people already have these 0-hour jobs now, and they're having
0-hour jobs,
what does that mean? The employers only tell them tonight how much work they have tomorrow. This is referred to as a 0-hour job.
Oh, interesting.
So people are on a low wage now. So how can you tell them, oh, if you leave the EU, you're gonna have low wages, or you're going to struggle? People use this thing called the food bank, where it's literally charities giving out loaves of bread and tinned vegetables every week. Yeah, people use this. So how can you say that, oh, if you vote for Brexit?
People have been using it all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And every time.
But I mean, there are all these stories that the Remain side are saying to persuade people to change their mind. But I'm like, it's not really going to work. Sure. Then what even shocked me, I met a Swedish guy on the train, and he was saying people in London voted to remain because they're well educated, and people from the north voted to leave because they are poorly educated. And I was like, no, I don't think education really has anything to do with it.
Well, I think he meant informed.
Well, informed and educated, and he was saying it in both terms. Like, I've known people who studied at the prestigious universities in the UK who voted to leave. Yeah. And then people who got any education from these prestigious universities who voted to remain.
No, but what I'm saying is that you can be educated but uninformed.
I don't know what he was trying to say, but he was trying to act like people in London are more likely to read books or to do some studying. I was like, on what basis do you say that? Because do you have a camera in everyone's house in London to know what they're doing, if they're studying or not? But
it's probably just socially, because they have to mix more.
I just found it funny because it felt like he was very, very stereotypical. That's the word I was looking for.
I don't know.
I think that's stereotyping.
I don't know, because I would imagine he just got something from the news saying basically, the urban areas voted this way and the rural areas just...
And this was kind of a trend, but it was just trying to make it almost black and white. And I thought the votes happened, and I think...
Well, did you think, for instance, that Trump was black and white? Also, many
this was
times...
good advertising.
It was, marketing and the real dissatisfaction with the current situation, and he was just a transistor for that.
I mean, I know now he's getting in trouble with this border wall policy, but I don't think that there's any problem.
What trouble for him?
He's trying to build the wall on
just water on a duck's back.
Yeah, he's trying to build the wall with no permission from the legislature. He's trying to do it on his own, but I remember from his campaign, he was saying, I'm going to build the wall. I'm going to build the wall. He's building the wall. So for me, I don't think he's being inconsistent. Yeah. But some people are furious because he's not building the wall with support.
Let's be honest. Some of the people will be furious some of the time or even all of the time.
Yeah, that's true. I don't. What was there to say about Brexit in terms of?
Well, you expect the
it's
Brexit outcome to be actually beneficial.
I don't know, because, as I said, the people in power, they were not really. Some wanted the Brexit.
That's
not
the
many.
thing that bugs me. Do you really think that those people who you see in the parliament or in the government, that there are people in power? I think most of them feel quite helpless.
In terms of who's controlling them.
In terms of really making a difference and making the decisions, calling the shots. I don't really think that they are just paid actors, sort of following a script. Either the party line or
well, I mean,
whatever,
in terms
the
of
sponsors.
the government we have in the UK now, they're not really following someone's orders. Many of them are already wealthy.
I mean, politically.
No, I'm saying...
Or business-wise.
Business-wise, politically, I'm saying many of them are wealthy. They don't really need the NHS or socialised medicine because they can afford private healthcare.
I don't think that you could really say that.
No, it's true. They don't need private healthcare. So they don't need socialised medicine.
Yeah, but they don't need enemies as well.
I don't think they actually care, if I'm honest with you. They know their group of voters who support them, and I think they're just focusing on the people who support them, wealthy voters, middle class.
Yeah,
voters.
if they have them, yes.
And for the most part they do.
Hmm.
And yeah, so in this context, I'd say the British government is following its own line. I don't think anyone's telling me what to do. There's so much criticism for the cuts the government has made to social care and to local communities because libraries are closing down and so on and so forth.
Well, it's sort of meant to be fiscally disciplined policy.
Well, this is the position they're taking, that they
but
don't
it's silly.
want the
I mean,
country
Great
in
Britain
debt.
is a wealthy country. It's just that the distribution of the wealth is really awkward.
And I think it will stay that way. I think it will stay that way. It's not going to improve.
If you still have the same form of capitalism, sure. But if you get in power, why not change it, right?
I don't know, but I mean, the priority now is this Brexit thing. But yeah, on that actual note, I'm saying agencies the government were meant to have established, and had on the table, or on the books. They don't exist yet. So this is a really big problem. Like, laws were meant to have been passed to facilitate the future.
Well, think about it.
Relationship
But think
Europe.
about it this way: it's not that you will be missing something.
No, I'm saying
without
some
them.
things really just confuse me. There's a deal that will propose European Union citizens can stay.
Yeah.
If the deal isn't signed, I don't know what the rights of a Latvian in the UK will be. Nobody knows. And I don't know how they would be determined.
Well, if they are not specifically stated,
It
would mean that they just continue on as they were,
but
until further legislation.
The UK is leaving the EU, so all of this EU freedom of movement rules don't apply.
Not really. I mean, the real awkward thing about international law is that if it's not written down, it means everything goes.
Like before.
No, I mean, if you still have the same laws in force, yes, but other than that, it would mean just here's a thing. I mean, it's void of any legislation,
right?
So it means it could be.
But isn't this an arbitrary system, is what I'm asking, or not?
Well, but that's why they have those gamblings on international waters. Because yes, you can do that. I mean, once there's no legislation, if countries haven't agreed upon a particular system, it means there's no agreement, there are no rules. So
but would that not be scary?
So I think once you have a no deal Brexit, I think you will see a lot more Latvians stabbing around people.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they wanted to say, I am entitled to the minimum wage, I don't know if they would, even if they're entitled to
their
work.
fundamental rights would be still the same as local ones.
They would?
Sure.
But how will they enforce them?
Because Britain, as also everybody else, are members of the United Nations.
All right. If they went to a British court, how would they enforce their rights? What laws would they quote?
Well,
European
technically, that's an old hat, because once you have another citizen in another country, you have the collision norms. Basically, civil law provides you with norm collisions and collision norms. So you figure it out according to the both state laws. But it's really an old hat in law.
I'm not a fan
It's a real simple math. In a sense.
Okay. I'm not a fan of the European Court of Human Rights. We've talked about it before, but I think it is more hype than actually being a good
It's
court.
the best there is in the world for human rights.
I don't know, because
I mean, the rest of them would be even more devastating, in a sense, for you
just
to evaluate as a court.
the concept of it, where you have 47 countries sending a single judge each, but the residents of all of those 47 countries having the right to send a complaint in. Are you saying to me the 47 judges are considering 60,000 applications?
No, most of them don't even get to them.
Well, this is what I mean. But then it makes me ask the question, what determines whether those applications get to the judge?
Formalities.
Or wow,
The same thing as you had with the border people. Oh, you have inky passports? No.
But
Let's call the embassy. Let's find us on.
I genuinely think it's a case of who you know, then that will get your case to the top.
No, I mean, it might be the case in some instances on
most
an
instances.
individual basis, but on a general level, it's just really random pickings.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's just arbitrary whether they're going to take someone's case on or not.
Yeah, but it's not intentionally because you know somebody or you don't know somebody.
Well, no,
It's just yes, there is a gambling aspect to it because there's just so much volume, right? But if you fill out all the criteria that have been established, either by case law or by just formal jurisdiction.
But no, I mean,
no other way to get to
the
past
applications that are thrown away, they do not get any explanation at all other than we are throwing you out. The end.
Well, technically, they should provide you with some further information.
They don't. We're throwing you out. You have no right of appeal. And we will not enter any further correspondence with you in relation to this case. The file will be held for a year before it's destroyed. The end. Goodbye. That's all.
Interesting.
And that's the.
I don't think that's the way Latvia does it.
But it's not Latvia who will respond. It's the European Court, the registrar, who will respond on behalf.
Yeah,
of
but
the
every
court.
member state has their own offices, and
Right,
branches
but
or whatever.
the actual European Court sends the result to the person. You know, whether they're successful or
do
not.
you mean they send it from outside of Britain?
Right, no, I'm saying when the court says we are not taking this application in, the court will write to the person.
Yeah, but what I mean is we have a representative in the European Court of Human Rights, right?
All right.
He sits 2 blocks away from here.
All right.
So once if I would want to complain, I would write to the European Court of Human Rights, but my letter would go to them 2 blocks away, and they would write me back if that didn't get through.
If the European Court allowed it to get through, which they don't, I feel like the European Court only allows.
Those are the people who decide whether it gets through. Those are in charge of evaluating whether or not my complaint.
But then that would be a conflict of interests because
Not really.
it would be because they are having to decide whether to incriminate their legal system, which very few would do.
I see what you mean,
Strasbourg,
but it's not really.
The European
it's
Court.
not really a conflict of interest in a general.
No, I'm
sense.
saying the
I see
European
what you
Court
mean.
of Human Rights in Strasbourg is making this determination, and if it decides there's a potential violation, it will communicate the application to the local representative in the respective.
So what you're saying
member
is
state.
that you received a letter from
The
there.
European Court to say, in 4 lines, you're being thrown out. There'll be no further correspondence in relation to this case. There's no right of appeal, and the file will be held for a year, and then it will be destroyed.
Mhm.
And this is the standard response maybe 90 something % of people get when they file a complaint.
Might be the
Yeah.
case.
But this is what I mean. If there's no reason then given, then it's clearly a case of, oh, we picked that one, and oh, no.
How come I would have guessed that Britain should have their own constitutional court? But you don't have a constitution, guys.
The thing is the UK, the whole idea of this European system is it will get involved when you feel the local court system has denied justice.
Mhm.
And this was what my concern was, or still is, that I was denied justice in the local court system.
Mhm.
So to try and pursue that same complaint in the domestic system becomes pointless after a while.
Sort of, yeah. But you don't have a constitutional court because of that.
I'm not sure what that would have to do with anything.
Well, they could actually evaluate whether or not you have some guarantees as a citizen or as a human being, for that matter.
But just by virtue that the UK and many other countries signed into the ECHR, that's what the ECHR is there to do.
Yes, but also for those countries who have their own constitutional courts to evaluate against their constitutions,
Maybe,
which basically say the same thing most of the time,
maybe.
but they still do it on a national basis.
But no, I genuinely feel that this court is making plenty of judgments about Ukraine or Romania or Russia, but it won't make any complaints about the UK or Denmark or Sweden.
It would be funny if that would be the case.
Well,
But I think if you would look
you
for,
can look at the
if you would look
statistics.
for the decisions against Britain, there should be probably plenty.
Hardly any. Very, very few. They're mainly against Eastern European countries.
Because I would guess that your countries are more in compliance with all the rules.
Well, for me, no, because I wouldn't have been writing a complaint there in the first place. So,
all right, but in general.
General, no.
But yeah, well, I
Because
mean,
I don't see people's complaints and what the responses are.
Yeah.
And I know how I was treated. Thus, I will only assume other people are also badly treated.
I mean, denied, yes.
Yeah. But I just think that court is there to protect the wealthy countries and to criticize the poor ones.
To criticize the poor?
Right. They're
How do they
constantly human rights violations being found against Ukraine, Romania, Eastern countries in general, but they're not really making those findings against the UK. They're not being made.
Because you are more civilized.
Well, not for me, as I said, maybe for you, but I've had some really bad experiences there.
Dude, I'm telling you, you are more civilized.
No, I've gone to Romania, I've gone to Ukraine, didn't have any problems.
You're just cherry picking now.
But I've been in the UK and I've had problems. Major problems.
I see what you mean. Yes,
Yeah.
but domestic violence is not necessarily the same as being maltreated by the judicial system.
I've been maltreated by the judicial system in UK.
I thought you said about the school thing.
What I'm saying, the UK, you're not allowed to film a judge during your hearing. So, if just like this,
No, you are able, but you just have to first. You just have to get an acceptance first.
No, they can invite you, give you permission, but they don't have to give you the acceptance. It's up to the judge.
Yeah,
He's
same
not
here.
obliged. But this means, for example, you and I, no camera, no microphone, and then we leave the room. I said, he said, she said. Who knows what was said? And many times, British citizens complain about how a judge has treated them, but it's just, I said, he said, she said. No one knows, because an appeal judge will always back the judge because the judges are honest and truthful and they never lie and blah, blah, blah. The media, they would be very, very afraid to print something because it would damage the judiciary and they wouldn't be able to back up.
I just think it would be a boring story.
But no, if people are being, maybe that as well, I mean, the story might not be seen as newsworthy, but I'm saying if people are mistreated by a judge in the UK, tough. You just have to live with it.
Same here.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose. But I can't live with that. Hence why I had the bloody inky passport for so long. As I said, the next passport I was going to have, I said it was either going to be Latvian or Ukrainian. And if the Inky passport got expired before I got the new passport from a new country, then I would just renew it. But it's been renewed and I didn't pay a thing. So for that reason, I still have a British passport / citizenship, but I want that to change. So I didn't get to explain why it seems like it no longer be Latvia and it will be Ukraine. I went to a competition in Romania in October. It was titled the European Cup. And
Actually, you mentioned that because the Ukrainians allowed you to participate under their flag.
And the Latvians didn't. And I was really, really shocked because I thought
Don't get me wrong, dude, but you don't look much Latvian.
I suppose. But then I don't look much Ukrainian, or maybe I do.
I don't know, because so Ukraine is a big country. I'm not sure. For
Yeah.
most of the part, no, but I cannot be 100%
Well,
sure. Because they have, I think, some southern region.
But then it's Turkish looking. I don't look Turkish.
Maybe.
Yeah, Tatars. I don't look Turkic.
Yeah.
And I don't look Central
If
Asian.
you would cut your hair, you would. You would.
I doubt it. No.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
doubt it. Maybe.
Yeah, if you would cut your hair. If you cut your hair, yep.
But
Yep. And if you would start eating a lot of rice and lamb.
maybe then go to the mosque. Yeah. And pray 5 times a day. But anyway, so you're saying if I looked Latvian, then the Latvian team would have let me join them.
The possibility would be more, yeah.
And that's a basis on how you find an athlete for a team or for a country.
Well, no, I would guess the most convenient way would be to just have him as a citizen.
Right, which I'm not. But it was just as a precursor to that. I had hoped I could have competed with them, but they were like, you can come to the competition we have in Latvia and compete there, but just not with us, which I respect. But I was like, no, I really thought I'd found somewhere I could belong, even though I'm not white, even though I'm not wealthy, because that has just been, as our last conversation established, a big problem in the UK, which I don't want to put up with anymore. But hence why I said, all right, let me see if things can work in Ukraine. I spoke to their organizer, and he was cool. He was like, yeah, you can compete with us. And yeah, many of their groups were fine with me. And I went there over Christmas. It's the western side anyway. It's actually a very different language to Russian, because I went on purpose to watch Aquaman, not because I wanted to watch the film, but for if I can watch a children's film in Ukrainian, how much will I be able to
Wait a
understand?
second, they dub it in Ukrainian?
Well, that cinema did.
Wow.
I couldn't understand a thing, and it was a children's film.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, because Russians are always like, oh yeah, it's the same as Ukrainian. It's like, no, Ukrainians are bilingual.
I think Ukrainians understand Russian, but not the other way around.
Right, and this is because Ukrainians learn Russian. The Russians assume, because Ukrainians learned Russian, that it's the same language.
Yeah.
It's not. And it's crazy, because like when I don't know Danish, Swedish or Norwegian, but when I see people from those countries, they can use their own language and talk.
I think for the most part, yes.
I've seen them.
Finnish, Swedish,
Finnish and
and
Swedish.
Norwegian should be.
No, Finnish and Swedish. No, Finnish and Estonian, they could struggle. But no, Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish. Finnish people were under Swedish occupation in the history, so many of them speak Swedish as a second language.
Yeah.
So they could probably have a conversation with people from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
But so I'm just going off on a tangent now. But no, I'm just saying I was trying to see how well I could fit into the society.
All right.
To me, I actually think Latvian language sounds nicer than Ukrainian. I don't know.
I would guess so, yes. More clean.
Yeah, it just sounds very Latvian.
Crisp.
But I don't know what it is.
Cleaner.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Ukrainian language is like, whoa, it sounds funny to me. Not that it's bad or any disrespect. It's
No,
just,
I agree.
yeah.
Phonetically, I think Latvian is one of the nicest languages because it just flows.
So here's a funny thing now. I've had so much scaremongering from people. Like my Latvian friends telling me, don't go to Russia because they're racist, they're going to kill you.
Russia or Ukraine?
This is the thing. Latvians telling me about Russia.
Alright.
Then my Russian friends, I've met her in London after like years, I hadn't seen her. Don't go to Ukraine, they're racist and they're going to kill you. Then I go to Ukraine, don't come here because everyone's leaving. It's like everyone's telling me.
Well, Ukraine is a little bit in shambles somewhere.
But I genuinely think if I took up citizenship there, it could send them a signal that life isn't so bad. Because, there's a civil war.
It's just that you would be more wealthy on a relative scale there than in Latvia.
Depending on my earnings, as I said, I don't think I could find any viable employment out there. I really don't.
You should be a YouTuber.
I'm not interested.
If you're interested in money, you should.
No, but in social media in general, I've left Facebook.
I don't know. I don't know if YouTube could be called social media.
It's on the same lines.
It's just a
It's
platform.
got the comment section.
It's just a platform for broadcasting. That's it.
Right.
It's not. You don't have to interact with anybody.
It's the comment section that drives me crazy.
You can disable the comments.
I suppose. But then you're not really... It's kind of like you're putting something out there, but you're not allowing people to respond to you.
No, you are just limiting their abilities. You're just not.
Right.
You're just not interested in having those conversations or those comments. So it's up to you.
Yeah, I suppose. But I really need this fighting thing to take off, man, because I can't think of any other sort of work I could do that, like, I could coach in gymnastics there, but they've got tons of coaches already.
Yeah. I mean, all these former Soviet countries.
Yeah.
One thing that's good enough for them is definitely gymnastics and physical
stuff. But wages would be horrendous. Not. In the end,
you could view it as this way. You could definitely find an employment easily in a big city as being English.
See, that's another thing.
International
we didn't talk
needs.
about. I wouldn't leave England to speak English anymore. Hell fucking no.
You mean you wouldn't be inclined to even use it for profit?
At all. Because why would I revoke citizenship to go abroad and broadcast the same language? It's kind of stupid.
Well, then you are just limiting your abilities to earn.
Well, money is not everything, and it sounds a bit of contradiction.
But 2 minutes ago,
I just said
it sounded
about and I explained. It's about principles. Like I would
against whom?
Okay. I made sure I could always speak fluent English while I live in the UK.
Yep.
It's not saved me from hateful comments, hateful behaviour, abuse.
Why would it save you? It's just communication.
But if I go to the UK if I was born in the UK and I was like, screw this country, I'm just going to live my life on welfare. I'm just going to stab people.
Could you do that?
People unfortunately do just live like hoodlums. They live like.
But would you be able to actually get social benefits?
Well, yeah. This is one of the perks. Why do you think so many people are trying to go through the tunnel from France to the UK? It's in part because they want access to social welfare.
But why aren't you then on social welfare? Sounds good.
Well, I've had it from time to time, but I'm saying I've not. How can I put it? The only time where I said, fuck it, I'm going to just live in it for a while was when I had this thing with the bailiff and then I lost my job because of something someone else did. And I thought, you know what? I've had it with looking for work now. Someone sabotaged my prospects. The judge is corrupt. It's like, screw it. Yeah, I'm just going to live in welfare. But I don't really have a sense of belonging from that long term.
But you could read books. Or something useful.
Yeah.
You have the internet.
For sure. But I can't live in the UK. As I said. I mean...
No, you can live in the UK. It's not that somebody is pushing you out.
In an indirect way, I am feeling pushed out. No one's took me by the neck and thrown me into the sea. But I'm saying, if I've had the amount of bad experience... No, I've had the bad experiences that I've had there, and I just feel like I can't live
But
there.
you have probably also some good experiences.
No, not at all. Zero. I have good experiences here. I have good experiences in Ukraine.
I just think you are doing the grass is greener on the other side thing.
Oh no, I've been to Latvia a few times now. Been to Ukraine twice. Fine. I've had a little bit of racism here, but just so little I don't even care. And in Ukraine, zero racism. No one trying to cheat me. No one being abusive or violent towards me in here or Ukraine. It just doesn't compare. I mean,
Well, what if you just moved to Wales?
it's still in the UK. I don't know anyone in Wales.
See, you don't know anyone in Ukraine.
Yes, I do.
Well, I mean, it's
A Ukrainian guy just messaged me actually
Oh
from.
no, what I
my,
mean is
yeah.
you don't know anybody in a foreign country until you of course go there and meet somebody.
Like that.
But
I have a second cousin who lives in Wales actually. I
See?
do. But
ask him if he's
No.
thinking about stabbing.
no, he's
If
one
not-
of the upstanding black men. He has a wife. He has children.
See?
He works.
Sounds like life's good there.
I don't have any real relations with him. I know he'll know me. We don't see one another. Like I'll tell you something really
but you
fucked.
can talk to him.
I'll tell you something really, really fucked up. What happened?
Yeah.
My birth family. I have a great aunt. So my grandma's sister. She lives in England, and she's getting older. So she wanted, or an aunt in Uganda, where my mum's side of the family's from, wanted to help
I
out.
thought you were from Jamaica.
On my dad's side.
Oh.
My mum's side is from Uganda in East Africa. So this aunt from Uganda was coming to England to take care of her. I was asked for a contribution. I don't know if other members of the family contributed. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Anyway, when she came here, all the rest of the family, 'cause I grew up in foster homes, so I don't really even know my birth family that well. They would have social gatherings, dinners and whatnot. And I would see photos and whatnot on Facebook. I was never invited. And
Did they know about you, where you are?
for them to ask me to reach into my pocket and to donate to a flight ticket, which I did, we had to have known one another. There's just no two ways about it. But I'm saying after that, I wasn't needed anymore.
But did you ask them whether or not?
Dude, why would you need to ask family to... If I'm desperate, and on that line...
But there's no real ego thing needed when you just want to make sure. And when you want to make sure, it's just that you ask.
They knew
Directly,
how to
indirectly,
find me
whichever way.
when they needed a contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or my cousin, the same one in Wales, now you brought it up, let's talk about it. He was trying to call he called me. And I was like, oh, that's odd. I never get calls from you. But hey, let's talk. Blah, blah, small talk. And then, oh, I'm trying to call auntie and her phone's not working. Do I have the right number? Bingo! That's why you've called me. He wanted me to check he had the right number for the aunt who lives in London.
And you did have the right number?
I had the number, and I
See?
just said maybe.
Do you
she's
call
out.
auntie?
Well, no. My point was the only reason he picked up the phone to call me is because he wanted to call another aunt, or the other aunt who they called me. It was because they needed money for a ticket to bring her over.
Yeah.
My family, my birth family, know how to contact me when I'm useful, and then they lose interest again.
Which is what family is for.
Well, this is as an adult, but the same family used to torture me in my childhood. So, if that's what family is for, I don't need them.
All right.
Yeah.
Makes us more self-reliant.
Well, yeah, it does. But then when the whole sort of white community of England, well, most of them, are hostile to me and they don't want me in their country, how can you say, oh yeah, you can move to Wales? When it's basically kind of like a Schengen border. Just it's the same place. And I've given you an example. The only one person I know there,
I think
I don't really have any relations with.
I think local identities are real, and I don't think that the Welsh do consider themselves the same as English.
I don't know anybody there. And no, they don't. No, I agree. They're nicer to me on the whole. They are, genuinely. But I'm saying, dude, it's hell. Like, every time I leave here or anywhere I've been to these competitions, and I'm like, oh, I'm having to go back to England. It's not I feel a sense of belonging or that I'm going back somewhere I belong. It's like I was born there. I opened my eyes one day, and that's where I live, and that's where I've lived ever since.
Still sounds like more opportunity and freedom.
Well, a higher wage rate than here or Ukraine for sure. And opportunity, no, because if you didn't go through the same sort of social clans or networks as the people who are already in privileged positions in society, you're not going very far.
Yeah, but you're still going further.
Further how?
Further or farther?
Farther, it's either, it's the same. But tell me how I'm getting, because it's not just you, the Ukrainians are saying this as well. Oh no, just stay there. And, no, it's hell.
I think the sense of proportion is just misguided. From all right, you had bad experiences. Everybody does sometimes.
Right.
Maybe you have more than your fair share. Maybe, right? But still, you have sort of no excuses to not just take that and make the best of it.
Well, my Russian friends were saying
it's just that. Look at it this way: if you would be in really, really remote areas of the world where they don't have any internet, no communications, no anything, right? Yeah, that's tough luck. You have the opportunity to read books every day, to educate yourself on the topics you are interested in, to actually think about your future, to actually plan for your future, whether it would be in England or outside of it, doesn't really matter. But still, you have all those opportunities. And then, if you have that type of scenario all mapped out, or at least somewhat mapped out, you are able to actually decide, all right, if I would like to achieve this little goal, how would I go about doing it in the fastest way? Maybe I should just take a side job or a little job that pays the rent and gets me some extra cash, and then I go there, and afterwards I quit the job and do the next step.
And what? So you're saying in this whole thing, I stay in the UK?
No. I'm just saying you evaluate according to more sophisticated criteria than just I had bad experiences, that's why I don't want any relations further on.
What did I do there? I didn't get. So I was shut out of the education system, which would have, if you like, been my passport to.
Doesn't mean that you have to stay ignorant.
No, which doesn't, but it still doesn't defeat the point that I'm obstructed from achieving anything by the system there.
If I would have to guess, the best way for you to go about would be to find the most convenient reset button.
That's leaving. It's not staying.
Or just use some drugs. Find those 14-year-old stabbers with the cash photos, right, and ask them for some, I don't know, DMT or MDMA.
And these drugs would reset my memory.
Yes, that's what the people who use them tell. Or some LSD, that they just start a total way of recalibration.
So I'm really set out my path for me here. I'm very interested to figure this out. So I go back to the UK this week, and then what?
Do you have a job?
Not now. It's 0 hours.
What type of job are you able to find in 2 weeks' notice?
So I didn't ever stop having jobs, if you like, but I have to wait for the phone to ring. But for the 0 hours. But to find full-time work...
Look at it this way. Yeah. What is the amount of money that you could actually get and sort of save up in 6 months' time?
Not in that economy. What were we talking about almost an hour ago? I said, when European job seekers in their multitudes came to London looking for jobs, employers brought all the wages really, really low.
Also for bank managers?
Well, what did I say before that? Well, since that, you need something called connections to get jobs.
But when I asked you about making videos for YouTube, you said you're not just interested.
Videos about what on YouTube?
About being dissatisfied with Britain.
I could. I know. There actually are some I've seen people who've made these kind of statements on the news and stuff. There's this one, I think he's called Kehinde or something. There's this one black guy. He's a lecturer at the university, and I think it was on a Good Morning TV, and he was telling the presenter, "Oh, UK's bad. UK's oppressive. UK's colonies. Blah blah. UK's racist." And then the guy's like, "Look, if this place is so bad, why don't you go?"
It's not about that.
No, but that's the response you're gonna provoke.
You see, earlier on in our conversation, you said that your anger didn't have anything useful. Right. But in a sense, anger has always a useful potential, and when it comes to let's say YouTube, it always has an entertainment factor.
Maybe
angry people are more charismatic.
Yes.
They convey more passion for what they are talking about. So
but
don't dismiss it.
No, saying help me here. So I'm just gonna make videos saying about how sad.
I'm not even BSing.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
You just literally put
that
let's say
help
1 minute video. Yeah. Then if you see that you can talk more, 2 minute video, whatever.
Right.
And if you want, you can also make some bullet points. It's not that you have to have it improvised.
How does it help? Like so.
Well, in let's say in a week's time, it probably doesn't make a dent. But in 2 months' time, it might. Because again, there's the, and if you want to have a further methodology to it, you can just mix your content with something that is already established on YouTube with the Creative Commons license.
All right.
So you just mix something that's already popular with your own content.
Everybody there's already of the perception that everything's wonderful, human rights is wonderful, democracy is wonderful, equality is wonderful. I mean, the one thing I am hoping for is, and this is something really weird, is that the Brexit process doesn't happen, and then all of the racists will actually surface and take to the streets.
Actually, I need to fix this.
That's what I would want. Something happened.
No. I don't know where my sticky note went. No, I mean on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Just weird.
Just notice the screen's curved. Take out these lenses.
Right, anyway, I'll just write. So 150, basically. 150 is when you talked about Britain, or the Brexit rather.
Yes.
And you gave an opinion,
right.
And trust me, people are interested in other people's opinion. It's
they
this. Or if you don't want to bash Britain or democracy, whatever,
right,
just play games on the internet.
But like e-gaming.
Yeah, just stream. Just stream while you're sitting in your chair.
People make good money from that.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's not my interest.
Dude, you are a upcoming martial artist. Why wouldn't you just play Mortal Kombat all the time?
I suppose I could. I mean, it sucks. If this martial arts stuff doesn't take off me, I don't know what can, in terms of, in a sense that I'm doing something unique that isn't just being
No, you don't have to be unique in a general sense, but you need to be unique in the specific sense that you are still within a category, but you are you for your own sake.
Right.
Because you are unique.
I mean, maybe one thing I could do is tour guiding of the city, because I do know the city very well.
You approach it too logical or too rational. You are an emotional creature like the rest of us. Use that emotion to guide your passions. And so the one thing you are definitely passionate about is Britain being totally unreliable when it comes to the human aspect of everyday life.
Right.
Sounds good to me. And maybe you just mix it in with some Tekken or Mortal Kombat.
I'm saying there is a researcher or some lecturer, a black guy in the UK who does this all the time, and it makes me angry because, as I said,
and then you can shout him out.
Yeah, I'm telling you why it makes me angry. He's blah 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 blah, but he doesn't leave.
But it's not related to that. I mean,
Very much so.
No, because your complaint is not about you wanting to leave. It's about you not liking the way things are going.
Yeah,
So
I'm fed up.
it's
But as I said,
it's a
maybe
sort of
Brexit
a warning
could be
sign.
a good way for it to come to the surface on its own. Because no, I'm saying for a fact. So if it doesn't end up happening and the Brexit is cancelled, racists will come to the surface and start sort of rioting. Or if Brexit is going to happen in a no deal way, they will take to the streets, I reckon, some of them, and start saying, go home packies, go home niggers, go home whatever. And that will give me peace of mind. I'm like, oh great, it's out there in the open now. Because for now,
But I don't think Britain would be that hateful.
But that's what I'm
Because they drink too much.
But this is what would be the cool
They
thing
forget about
it.
their anger.
But I don't know which strata of British society you're talking about, but I'm saying
Oh,
the
the
racists.
common man.
Well, no, I'm saying the racists, they'll finally appear. These people I told you about in this video and the last one, they can surface. And then it doesn't have to
Maybe
be
some of them.
like I'm pretending anymore, or that, because you haven't seen exactly what I've gone through, you'll be, I can see why he doesn't want to live there.
Dude, I get it. It's just that it's not that bad. Compared to the rest of the world, Britain is still fine. I mean, that's the beauty of our own misery.
Wow.
Because even in our lowest lows, we are still actually on a pretty high level.
I don't have family there. I have friends I could stay in contact with through video calling and friends who I could rely upon.
Yeah, but why? How come you are relating your self worth by other people? I mean, it doesn't really matter whether or not you have family there or not.
No, because I need to feel like I have a sense of belonging to the land.
But you created, not other people for you.
I can't create that there.
You can. It's just that it's a challenge. Yeah, but it doesn't seem that you are afraid of challenges.
I don't know.
It's another way of a challenge. Because how many books do you read a year?
A year, 20... No, maybe... I don't know. When you say books...
Yeah, I know it's a little bit relative.
Because I read
But in
a
general,
lot of news journals and
no,
articles.
that doesn't count.
Doesn't count?
Not at all.
But they have to pass editorial...
No,
boards
but
and stuff.
what I'm saying is not
Old school
not
books.
text, right? What I mean is something that's somebody has put some thought in it as in almost a big narrative, right? So why is it important? What's the benefit, and what are the conclusions or the any type of other
Alright.
end thoughts?
I don't know. That's the truth.
Because you can read the book about Taekwondo. You can read a book about YouTubing. You can read a book about emigrating from the UK. You can read about books.
I mean, one thing
about
that's
books
really
about all
sad
those things.
is that I don't feel like I belong there anymore because there are very few quality taekwondo groups in London anymore, and I could actually set up some kind of classes because I found good boxing classes.
Look, now I'm just getting straight to the marketing aspect.
Yeah.
Taekwondo won't get more popular unless there's some big event with some big famous for person who somehow is related to Taekwondo.
Right, no, I wasn't even talking about Taekwondo in the general sense. I was just saying as a form of fitness, people take on trainers in all kinds of spheres. They take on trainers to lose weight, to do this, to do that.
All right.
I find gymnastics lessons with children to be so hard because the attention spans are not there and parents want fast results. Leisure centers give me more kids than I can give quality attention to. So that I keep to a minimum. Adults, it'd be really hard to teach someone of our size or build because the flexibility's gone. But potentially taekwondo lessons on the fly to people until I pack my bags and leave.
You can at least try.
Yeah, I could do that maybe. But that's literally a short term, not because I have a career or I have something I want to develop there, because some fucker will come along and trash it, like they've trashed all my other plans and other projects in the past. But maybe I could do that as a sort of stopgap employment. Yeah, I could do that.
Well, you can do that and much, much more. Depends on your...
But because what annoyed me is I really wanted to have gone by last year, and now it's 2019 and I'm still there. This is the problem. Like, there has to be...
So why is it a problem?
I don't want to live there anymore.
But you are still living there.
Right. And it annoys me because it's like I can't keep to my own deadlines, or I can't create my own reality elsewhere.
Here's the thing.
Tell me.
You are sort of in a 99% mix of the people who... What's it? Oh, they take themselves too seriously. You take yourself too seriously.
Perhaps. But no,
you just need some proper slogans for your life. Like every day when you wake up, you just look at some note saying, I don't know, memento mori or whatever, right? That reminds you you're just human. You are on a temporal basis on this planet, so make the best of it. Make every moment worthwhile. Right, and read books.
Okay.
Boom. And then 2020 comes around and you are saying, look, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm not looking glad for, not that it's the end of the world, but it's having to learn another foreign language again. Like...
Nobody's forcing you to.
No, but it would be rude not to have it when I'm living...
You mean in Ukraine?
Yeah. It'd be very rude not to know it.
You asked the Ukrainians.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, because as I was saying to you before, I didn't want to speak English anymore. It's a problem. I don't know if the Russians annoy you in particular. Do you feel annoyed by them?
You mean Latvian Russians?
Or Latvian Russians or Russian Russians?
The Russian government, yes. The Russian people, not really.
All right. Yeah, no, because the Russian speakers in both Ukraine and Latvia, they don't always want to speak in Russian with me because they say the Russians annoy them and that.
Well, they don't, but it's the same. I mean, the Ukrainian people don't really like Russians because they are being viewed as aggressors.
But then people want to speak to me in English. I'm like, I have bad memories from that place. I don't want to speak in English. So it's like a clash of cultures, which is why I will have to learn either Ukrainian or Latvian, depending on which country I live in. Ukraine, as what you said, hence the dilemma I'm in.
Dude, that's not a dilemma, to be fair.
All right.
It's a choice. You
Yeah.
don't have to do that.
So
But you can actually go to Ukraine, start making videos, start teaching people Taekwondo, and do all of the rest.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Yeah, if they felt I was good at it in demonstration purposes, as I was saying at the very start of the video, my demonstration abilities seem to be a lot stronger than my performance ones. Yeah, it's something to think about. No, the chat's been helpful for sure. I have food for thought, as the expression goes.
Well, you probably have the same thoughts. You had the same thoughts in another way, probably already earlier.
Maybe.
Because if you say that you exited Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that anymore.
So, but you had some thoughts about it, right?
In
Because
the
you
past,
had initially
yeah.
a Facebook profile, right?
I did, but I've
you were pondering some things about it.
I don't know if I should tell you what happened on Facebook. Why I didn't really leave it by choice. I had a Facebook group.
Right.
What it was is there was a group of students from Oxford University in the UK, and they had a Facebook group, and they really, really drove me crazy because a lot of them were just saying how great things were. They wouldn't accept I'd had any abuse or racism there because that's something that happens abroad. It doesn't happen here, blah, blah, blah. And I just saw sort of the sense of entitlement in there and privilege because someone, a girl, she lost her yoga towel, which is like €3, and she called the police, and they actually came out to give her, oh, you're right, honey, just patting her on the shoulder. Yeah, we know these things happen. Then there's another girl. She had a bicycle, and she found someone put some toilet paper. I don't have any here to literally hold my head on her saddle, and then she called the police to say she had a stalker, and then the police launched an investigation. You know, just little things like that. And
yeah, that sounds a little bit over the top.
Right. So I made up a group, and I just got people in the group. Generally, they seem to be racists, and then they went in the Oxford group, and then it was absolute carnage because they're like, oh, so racist. Oh my gosh, calling the police. It was the best period ever. But then I got
you were
blocked,
trolling,
right? About hardcore. It was just.
See, you can do that as well on this.
Yeah, no, this is what I did, and that was great. But yeah, I got kicked from the group, so I set up my own group. Yeah, and then trolling and the racism just went through the roof.
But see, that's the potential market right there.
Should I tell you? I'll tell you even the rest of it. We talked about it before. A lot of these people were white nationalists from this. Where is it? This place called they're from the United States, and they'd been at this march in this place called Charlottesville, Virginia. Maybe you don't remember it. It was a while ago now.
Yeah, I remember somebody drove
a car through a crowd of protesters, and then they were all calling me like they called me the Führer, and
impressive.
Yeah, they're like, you're the chosen one. And I felt really awkward because they didn't know who I was. I didn't have any information on my profile. And I told this one white lady, look, I'm black. I don't know how it's happened, but the group's just become what it's become. And I just felt uncomfortable in the sense that I'm not quite what everyone wants me to be. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's cool. Like, I'm glad there wasn't a black person for once using identity politics and saying blah blah blah, like, oh, I'm oppressed. And then somehow someone you'd actually be able to rate because you have a profile yourself, couchsurfing profile. Obviously I'd said the languages I speak, what I did for a living, and someone had pulled up my couchsurfing profile in the group, and it said to them, look, this guy has all the same kind of credentials as Ronald does. And then there's one white woman who had actually started confirming everything. But the fucked up thing is, she didn't tell them, like, he's told me, I know who he is. She was just sort of leaving stones, like, there for people to guess and figure things out. And then, oh boy, it really, really messed up people because they were like, I have trust issues forever now. It was really
sounds like a funny story to me.
But
sounds like a funny story.
Yeah. And then everyone thought I was from the CIA and from like some kind of surveillance department.
Every time you can get racists and conspiracy theorists together, it's a beautiful place.
And it was just funny to read the sort of things they would write every day. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's just content, non-stop new content.
Right. And this was the worst thing because they were saying things about me, which I've had all kinds of shit said about me by my carers, families, teachers, whatever. So I'm used to it now. But it was the fact they really made some people so paranoid. Like, people were probably destroying hard drives over it, burning their IDs. I don't know what. I'm not in contact with them anymore. But the real messed up thing is, there were some people who'd done some serious shit for their cause, and they were actually really angry at the group. They're like, damn, they messed up a good thing. Like, I really felt like I could connect with people in that group. There were quality discussions. The movement was going somewhere, and now it's all gone. So
see, but you can start another one. You can be another Führer.
I could be the Führer of the Soviet countries. That's actually what I want.
But look, here's the thing. When it comes to the presence on the internet, nobody does it like the Western states, especially Britain, America, all English-speaking countries. they do well on the internet,
Alright.
right? So you can have those type of movements, those type of scenarios play out very, very well.
Right.
In other places, not so much. Not so much. Because people don't really... I think if I would have to guess, the reason why people from, for instance, in America like to look at the Kardashians is because they somehow or another want to escape their reality, right? So they watch other people's reality,
Right.
right? But in other places, yeah, we have stuff to do. It's not that we have time to look at other people living life that much,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
So
she's done
we
very
are not
well.
so sterile in
Right.
that sense. But on the other hand, if you see the irony, if you see the comedy, if you see the useless scenarios, you can just exploit them, and make money
I mean,
and be famous.
and this is the actual thing. I probably should have charged those guys a subscription fee or something.
You can,
Amount of time. I mean, it's in the past now, and I don't think I want to go
But
back
you can-
because that group's going
Dude,
crazy.
of course you can. If you have a smartphone, you can create content every day.
Well, I could make one of those groups
with
again
ease. With ease.
and make money out of them, but tell them, hey, you pay me because I make a group you like. But the problem was it was really going out of control because
Well, look, nothing on the internet is out of control.
well, no, some of them would have had another riot again.
Maybe.
But then I'd almost be guilty of inciting riots.
Not really.
Well, kind of, if I'm the leader of the group.
But it's
So-
a good story. It's
Yeah.
a good story. Definitely.
So I set up a group in Latvia and I made you all congregate at the Freedom
It's not gonna
Monument.
happen, dude. I'm telling you. It's just that people in Latvia, yes, they are maybe using those type of platforms,
Right.
but they are not using
No,
that as intense.
Intensively. I know. I think Facebook's heavily used here. Everyone's like, "Oh, can I add you on Facebook? Can I add you on Facebook?"
Well,
I'm like,
I'm saying, yeah, they use
they
it,
have it, but they're not
but
using
they-
it intensively. Yeah.
But yeah. See, they don't have a parallel life in there.
Sorry, I'll
So-
say it differently. I was saying in terms of being accused of inciting riots or stuff. If you do run a group and then everyone starts mobilizing in a
It's
city,
not
somewhere.
gonna happen in Latvia.
But I'm not trying to.
No, but I would dare you to try it. It wouldn't just happen.
What,
How of the past 30 years,
Right.
the almost past 30 years, the biggest riot was some 100 people in the old town pushing over an old police bus.
I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
that's so gangster.
there's nothing to write
Your
about.
14-year-old stabbers don't
Don't
really compare.
Yeah, what I found was really cool is when apparently everyone from Estonia to Latvia to Lithuania held hands down the
Yeah,
road.
in the 90s, yeah.
So did that literally happen?
Mhm.
That's unbelievable. So all the people stood from one highway, just
Yeah, I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers it is.
holding your hands.
Mhm.
Like, how that would have took forever. I mean, just to think of that. See, I'd love to do something like that.
Holding hands with people?
No, well, not holding hands, but a movement that made everyone in these countries do that.
Well, you would have to first start a totalitarian regime for 50 years.
Can I?
Sure, go ahead. Seems like you are good at inciting racist.
Oh dear. I mean, I didn't find any racists here, but I'd say actually it did help because when I was in the group, it actually meant that I could talk with the racists in Russia very easily, and I still talk to some of them now. Well, not now, but as in I'm able to talk to them without any problems. So that was probably one of the good things. This is incredible. I want to see where this stood. I want to see where yours stood.
I was 2 years old at that time.
This is everyone's kilometers. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of this movement, I was actually kind of sad that what country is this one?
Lithuania, probably.
I think you guys were better off when you were Soviets.
You mean Latvia?
Yeah, because At the competition, this is really annoying. All the EU countries had the right to be here. Did any show up? Just Poland, and they didn't need a visa. But there were Belarusians, Russians, Kazakhs, Uzbeks would have happily been here today for the competition. They couldn't because they didn't have a visa. So, what does that say?
That Taekwondo is not popular.
Not so much Taekwondo, because there's people doing Taekwondo everywhere, but it's the nations that were prepared to visit your country to take part in your event.
You are interpreting too much.
No, I'm not. No,
Yeah.
look.
I'm telling you, those people who like Taekwondo in Latvia, they go to those competitions.
I'm not
all the
talking
time.
about Latvians are here. They didn't need their permission to come to
Yeah.
Latvia. I'm talking about the people who wanted to come to Latvia.
And so you are saying, for instance, that other Europeans didn't want.
They didn't.
Yeah,
it's
but-
a fact. They could have been here.
Yeah,
they
but-
didn't need a visa.
Yeah, but
Just come to Latvia.
why would they want to come to a Taekwondo event in Latvia? Come on.
Well, why did the Uzbeks, Kazakhs, Russians, and Belarusians?
Because Latvia was quite a prestige region in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Latvia is still famous for that.
But it's the point that there's the people on the left-hand side of you who could have all come here. None of them did, apart from Poland.
Look at it this way.
Right.
In the Soviet times, Latvia was considered almost Europe.
Okay. So, well,
It's not really related to anything else.
but no, I just think it's a shame that you have borders closed on the people who actually wanted to be here and open borders for people who didn't care to be here.
That's not really true. I mean, they can get visas.
Not easily. Every time
They
last
just
year,
have to apply for a sporting event. It's not really that
it's not
uncommon.
guaranteed they're going to get it.
Difficult to say, but I would say most of them would get it.
I
It's
haven't
just
been on that side to
it's
apply.
just that for them to come here is expensive.
But the visa is an added uncertainty. You can sort of save up for something. The visa approval's out of your hands.
about a Taekwondo event.
But it's still the principle.
No.
Foreigners wanted to come to an event in Latvia, and it wasn't EU.
Yeah, but it should be a
foreigners.
meaningful event. Come on, man. It's Taekwondo. It's for enthusiasts. It's not
Well,
for general
yeah,
public.
I hear that, but in a general sense, then who's more interested to come here, Western Europeans or Soviets?
Former Soviets, yes.
Yeah,
still.
this is what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, they come as tourists.
But I'm saying,
A lot.
why would you have a obstacle for people who genuinely want to come and visit your country versus people who don't care?
Because they want to occupy this territory.
Even Kazakhs and Uzbeks, who I think would just come here to see
Well,
you.
there are not so many Kazakhs and Uzbeks, but Russians,
Maybe
yeah.
Russians.
Russians
yeah.
would like Latvia to be a part of Russia. That's simply
Well,
a fact.
in that case, I could agree. But no, I just think it's sad you can't have the others here.
It's no. I mean, look. Yeah, get somebody will definitely get not let in, right? But it's not that many. Not that many.
All
We are
right.
more comfortable. Latvia is definitely more comfortable in the European Union than being more closer friends with Russia. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's difficult to tell how the time and all those future scenarios will play out. Maybe in 80 years time, or 100 years time, Latvia will conquer the world. I don't know.
I want to try and get to Kazakhstan this time.
All right.
Last year they had a competition soon after this one.
Yep.
And I couldn't afford to go. I was absolutely gutted.
Hmm.
And I was telling my friend, if I was just more selfish, then I would have been able to afford to go because I'm always helping people with this or that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And she's saying I'd lose myself if I thought like that. Do you think so?
Do you freelance?
In what sense?
Well, that you are actually available on Fiverr.com or any of those websites who actually try to facilitate these. What's it called? I don't know what's it called when you have some short-term employment.
0 hour employment?
I don't know if it's a
Freelancing? Yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's the same thing. So I'm saying
project.
this
work.
is what most of British jobs are like now, which is why I can kind of move around like I want to.
Mm.
I mean, what I find a bit disturbing is when people kind of feel safe in a job like that. So as in, I'll say, oh, I have this job, it's up and down, but it's not what I'm going to stay with because it's not reliable. Whereas there'll be someone else up the road who's like, oh, I've got a job now. And they'll just hold on to it for dear life, even though they could be dropped like that.
All right.
Do you know what I mean? Have you ever come across that with people?
Well, maybe with others, yes. Maybe
Yeah.
with others.
It annoys me. This is what I really think everyone should
No,
try.
that's why you are not that.
Yeah,
type of
people
person.
should try and be a nation of entrepreneurs. Just like this Amazon guy, I just saw his company didn't pay tax in America in spite of the millions they made.
Well, that's called optimizing.
Well, yeah, as if you can't beat
Thanks,
them, join
thanks
them.
Ireland, I guess.
But then there'll be people who will literally just want a job in Amazon as a slave running around picking up stuff and just be comfortable in that forever.
I would imagine that it pays for fair good money.
No, terribly. I actually remember the story I read. Germany had a factory for them where they gathered all the goods and they brought it to the the customer. And
I really think they pay well on
you
those
won't believe
logistics
what they
centers.
said. You know what they said? We prefer workers from Czech Republic or Poland
Yeah.
because they're easier to what was the word they use? They offer less resistance, something like that. And you're telling me
They might be easier to work with. That I've heard about Latvians.
Yeah.
I've heard about Latvians that, for instance, some farmer or something like that, they want to get something fixed in their fence, and they are asking their workers, and so the British persons try to find all the reasons why it's not that easy, why it shouldn't be done, because then you have to have some type of security or whatever, and then the Latvians just come and say, all right, give me the manual. Read the manual, fix the fence.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I had my favorite Latvian. What did you say that? He was a manager in a sushi restaurant in London, and we never ever had to pay for a meal there. It was amazing. Then he goes and loses the job, not because of what he was doing. There was as manager duties, you have to lock the safe every night.
Yeah.
Or sign that I've locked the safe. And he forgot to do it, and there was theft. And in England, okay, that's one thing I give them. They're very democratic in the workplace. Any other country, like, you're fired, you're a useless worker. In UK, these employers, you're allowed to go and put your case, like, yeah, we got robbed, but I'm always showing up and work on time. I'm a dedicated employee, and if you can say that my misconduct wasn't so serious, I can stay. He didn't even wake up for his interview. He just slept through the alarm.
So?
But I'm saying he could have actually saved his job in spite of the fact he'd allowed the money to be stolen during the night.
Yeah.
It's just he didn't even bother to wake up and interview to save his job. That's the bit I'm trying to say.
And what was the reason?
Oh, he just saw the alarm and he's like, I can't be bothered.
No, but he didn't want the job?
It's like he didn't care anymore. And I was gutted, no, because I've never tried and see someone in what I can get out of them. But he was that one friend. Not that I see him purely, I can get free food of him, because that's a bad way to view someone. But it's like, there is that one guy who will do that, because no one else, as in England, everyone plays by the book, they would never ever do something like that. You pay or you leave the shop. But he was like Father Christmas for everyone. This is what I'm saying. I got sad he lost his job, which is a bit weird, because usually someone will only care about themselves. But yeah, sorry, that's a story.
Yeah, I think most people from the former Soviet Union are that way. Because we think about it this way, we grew up in some regulatory framework that was many times nonsense, so we had to think for ourselves.
All right.
It's not that if we would have been law-abiding citizens, right, the Soviet Union would still exist.
I think it was more a case the people at the top had become divorced from the people at the bottom. So like if you were in the regular family in Riga, you would queue for 2 hours for some toilet paper or some soap. But if you were in the Communist Party, you had an exclusive shop.
Yeah, but not that many people had it. I mean, the Communist Party had many members, but only some functionaries got those privileges.
This is what I mean. This was the problem, because there were the people at the top.
I don't know.
Who had
the problem was that the system didn't work, and most people knew it. It's just that some cracks formed along the way, and then they got exploited more and more until the system just breaks. But it wasn't necessarily that people were trying to lynch other.
But no, I'm saying
some aristocracy or anything.
In the sense, the people at the top with all the privileges, they didn't know what it was like for people without
the people with the privileges didn't have the needed things they wanted.
Oh, even them.
Of course.
I thought
it's just a look. It wasn't like everything was available. But it was really hidden from people.
Right.
It's just literally.
It wasn't
even
there.
if you had money and connections, sometimes you didn't get what you wanted because it wasn't because of the system.
Understood.
It wasn't produced in here, or it wasn't shipped here. So you could have known the secretary of the party or whatever.
It didn't really.
Physically, you wouldn't get anything.
And why were you a Latvian who chose not to learn Russian? I don't know if I asked.
I'm not sure I chose. It's just that I didn't really need it to.
Have you ever had experiences where you thought, I wish I knew Russian, or it doesn't matter?
Well, I certainly have. There are many experiences where Russian would have helped me.
Yeah.
But I'm not really that stressed about it.
All right.
Because I'm raised in a sense. If I'm in Latvia, speak Latvian.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Agreed.
if somebody is living in Latvia and not speaking Latvian, well, for you it would be totally understandable, right? But if a person is born in Latvia, raised 20 years in Latvia, and still not talking, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, it's messed up.
So that's why. And
Alright.
and the Russian TV sucks.
Okay.
Because I used to watch German and English TV.
And you liked it?
And American TV, right?
Yeah.
And Russian TV was just garbage.
Fair enough.
I mean, you probably have seen some Russian programs, I suppose. No?
I'm massaging my knuckle. When we punched the board,
Hmm?
can you see what happened? The knuckle, the middle knuckle, compare the two.
So?
He expanded.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping if I massage it, it will shrink again. Maybe it won't do the trick. I try.
Yeah. Probably some fluid in there.
Yeah. Oh, maybe this is it.
Well.
Stab it, huh? Joking.
So what type of bullet points did you have?
I actually went through everything, one way or the other. So I talked about Taekwondo, going to Kazakhstan. I could pursue a career in it. Family came up. Relocation came up. Brexit came up. And this lawsuit. We had to agree to disagree on the effectiveness of the ECHR. You seemed like it would... You felt like it's an efficient system, and I feel like it's not.
Well, it's the most efficient in the world.
Of what it does. Okay, I'll give it that. I mean, it's sad because
it's a flawed system, but it's the most effective compared to all of the rest.
That's what a British lawyer told me about the British system, and I think that's sad that you have to.
No, I don't think the British system is effective at all.
Huh? I think it's.
I think when you ask me, the British will kind of deteriorate themselves from within.
In what sense?
Because they are too static. It's really weird that they built almost an empire on certain values, and they destroyed the empire by just taking up other values. And this exploitative capitalism that exists, because the reason why Marx wrote the 3 volumes for the Capital, the book, right, was because of the English way of business.
All right.
Which was exploitative. Too much exploitative.
I mean, it worked for even after the Second World War. But I think now
I don't know.
the way the Amazons are getting huge, Facebooks are getting huge. I
Yeah.
think it's gone too far now.
I mean, it was almost always the case. It's just that at one point in time, there's no competitiveness in it anymore.
Well, this is what I mean now. You just have these supersized companies. And I don't think Jeff Bezos is done yet. I think he wants world domination. I really think he does.
I don't think he's really looking for anything other than being a wise businessman.
You just-
Because he, look at it this way, he started in 95 or something like that.
right.
Right, and he didn't become the world's richest man up until
Overnight.
2017.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
Oh.
agree that. No, but I'm saying just every time his business has conquered one area, he goes into another one, and then another one, and then
I don't
another
think
one.
I don't think he has conquered any more than two business sectors. One was books.
Yeah.
The initial sector was books, and then it's just retail, pure retail.
Then IT
'Cause
services.
he hasn't still. Well, yeah, I mean, but look at it this way: that's more business to business relations. It's not really business to consumer.
No, it's not. Yeah, I think he's got more to do. Like,
If you ask me who is the ultimate gangster, Bill Gates, because he reads a
Alright.
lot of books. I'm telling you.
all right.
I remember, I think it was in his biography, but maybe somewhere else, that his parents had complained about him and made a deal with him that he only reads not more than 4 hours a day, because otherwise he was just reading books all day.
I see.
Right? Yeah.
Do you buy into the idea that he is donating money to charitable causes?
Well, I'm not sure whether or not he's directly doing it, but I'm
It's
definitely.
hard to believe.
But I'm definitely by the fact that he is doing charitable work
I mean, because what
through his own
organizations? Because
So,
the what makes me suspicious with these kinds of things is the guy, which would be Bill or Jeff. They set up their own foundation. They employ their own directors.
yeah, I mean,
in
I
the
have my
foundation.
own foundation.
But this is what I mean. In terms of the funds into the foundation, they choose how much to give to whichever cause. I don't think they're under any obligation to give money away.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying,
I use my foundation not to pay tax.
well, this is what I mean. For them, it's for me. I think really why they do it, because
Yeah, I just admitted it. I do it.
yeah. But no, this is what annoys me is they get all the he's so great. He's like a god. He helps everybody. Yeah, that's
Well,
what
I mean,
annoys
they
me.
do many things. I mean, in Latvia, the Bill and Melinda for Gates Fund established open source library,
Okay.
and basically they modernized the infrastructure of Latvian libraries,
All right.
and they actually have also an open source catalog. So when you go to a particular website, you can actually read books online for
Okay.
free.
So
as a
yeah,
library.
you've given a direct example there. Great. No.
Well, it's a digitalizing project. I mean, you don't
Okay.
need a billionaire to actually be able to do that. To scan a book and put it online, it's not really that much of a
of an overhead.
effort. But
yeah.
still, the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund was the one who organized
did
it in Latvia.
Yeah. But this is what I mean.
But I'm
yeah.
assuming, of course, that for that they got some procurement contracts. I don't know, on other
It
fields.
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised either.
Nothing's for free.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Mhm.
But I don't mind. Look at it this way. I use Microsoft products all the time. Why? Well, because they established themselves during the past 50 years.
Yes.
I didn't choose them. They sort of dominate the market in the way that it's difficult to choose otherwise,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm
I
not
remember
mad.
for the longest time there wasn't an Android app for Microsoft.
An Android app for Microsoft? What does
Try
that
again.
mean?
A Microsoft app on Android. I'm sorry.
Ah,
For the longest time, it's there now, but for a long, long
you mean
time.
like Office?
Yeah,
Oh.
they chose not to develop it on the Android platform.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, but now you can go get all the Excels, Words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was a time where they were focused on building Windows Mobile, sorry, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, they don't. They should stick with what they're good at.
I think they joined the smartphone.
Because who's using a Windows phone?
Yeah, too late. It was too late when they started.
Well, look at it this way. Nobody really predicted that Android will take over, right? But once Google got behind it,
yeah. When Google was behind it, I knew it
seems
really well.
Yeah, reasonable. But then Google has also some flops. I mean, they do a lot of things. It's just that the most successful ones are the ones being talked about.
That's true.
That's about it. I'm still waiting for artificial intelligence to be at least somewhat useful.
That's true.
Because then that's a whole different story for Britain as well. Because then all those cheap labor tasks could be performed maybe by some robotics.
In a hair salon, it was quite interesting. There was a guy, he was doing a project for his university about whether robots could do hair. And
hair?
I don't think they could.
On a standardized way, definitely. On an improvised way, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, like what I was doing in my hair, these braids, I don't know. Maybe I can't see how a robot works.
If first they scan you, why not?
The fingers.
If they can customize the initial phase.
In a way, it probably could.
Yeah.
If somebody starts the first single ones, then the robot maybe could. Just 3 pieces of hair going in a row. Yeah.
I just remembered that I copied the description for the podcast from the last one. So now it says in our podcast episode description that you are talking about life in Ireland and living in Poland.
Oh, that's so good.
I need to change that. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
So yeah, but we did talk a lot about Britain.
I covered everything really that was to be covered. Quickly, maybe I'd say about whether you think people who make a success of them are obliged to share their wealth, or it's theirs only.
Always.
They are.
That's the French way.
But in what context? With their family, with their friends, with the local community?
With the close people, for sure. I mean, to spread the wealth is an obligation. How far, it's a matter of gradation, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you are in Latvia, you share with 100 people and it's a lot. If you're in France, not really. 100 doesn't really move the needle. But maybe on a certain scale, it does.
Because I find like now with, for example, I was thinking about all these guys who make so much money. Like people were making criticisms of Floyd Mayweather, boxer. He makes more than anyone else, really.
Yeah.
And I just think all the struggles one has to go through to get to what he's got, I can kind of see why he wouldn't feel an obligation.
Yeah, but that's another thing. If you are so wealthy, you might as well convey some sophistication to your persona, because his persona is just the flaunting
bitches and hoes.
The flaunting playboy, right? And it's that for the pay-per-views, of course, it's useful because people want to see him lose. But when it comes to his public image, you would be more inclined to feel sympathy for him if he would be more likable. Because if you want to be likable, you just have to help other people and be useful to other people.
And that's what I find interesting as well. A quick point is like with him being a multi-millionaire black celebrity, he said clearly Africa didn't do anything for him, so he doesn't do anything for Africa. But then in another sentence, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates are apparently doing work out there, and to me, it's just fucked up.
Well, it's not really the case of being some relation, but it's just there's no real economic benefit in doing anything in Africa. It's just really, I mean, think about it this way. I like the fact that Joe Rogan talks about it when he speaks about Sam Kinison, who was a stand-up comedian in America, who basically had a bit about. Actually, I can show you the bit because yeah, I'm not really worried if I get pulled from YouTube. Sam Kinison, Africa, because his bit was about I know how to solve the famine problem, world hunger. I thought he had a better one.
Okay. For somebody to come on here and give you an answer for you. I'm not the guy. Safe? Do you think you're safe? What's your name? Woman, you want to...
So,
For 2 years, my life was so boring. There was a weed. With that look on their face like they envy the dead. There's a weed here. They were doing things with their lives. I was out there looking for crabgrass. I buy it every time, though, I swear. That same kind of love, too, man.
so where is the bit?
Where's your give this kid a sandwich? You're not safe. But I'm trying to help. I do the best I can, folks. I swear I do. I do the best I can.
So this is the bit.
Like this world hunger thing, I'm really involved with it. I'm just like you. I see the same commercials, those little kids out there, you know, hungry. I watch this on TV and I'm home. I'm going, God, you know, how sad. How cruel. Because I know the film crew could give this kid a sandwich. Come on, you know, there's a director 5 feet away going, don't feed him yet! It doesn't work unless he gets us hungry. Get that sandwich out of here! Okay, Haji, back in the mud hole, all right? We're losing daylight. We are losing daylight. It's true.
And he
But I'm not trying to make fun of world
proposes
hunger.
the
If you want to do
solution.
something about world hunger, I think I have an answer. I think a lot of people are adopting this attitude. You want to do something about world hunger? Stop sending them food. I mean, it's network television. I'll be the first. Look right here. Zoom in. Stop sending them food. All right? Don't send them any more food. You want to help these people? Send them U-Hauls. Send them boxes, you know, some luggage. Send them a guy out there that goes, hey, hey, you know, we just drove 750 miles across the desert with your food, and it occurred to us that there wouldn't be world hunger if you people would live where the food is! You live in a desert! You understand that? You live in a desert! Nothing grows there! Nothing's gonna grow there!
Yeah, funny enough, I was stopped by a guy. I guess I was influenced by that Facebook group I had, because he was stopping me saying, "Hey, if you can donate some money and I can give money to this charity, they'll give a food pack with nutrients to a family in a refugee camp." And I was like, no, because I just felt like it would make them breed, just make them have more kids, and then want more money again. Because I saw this, okay, in a different context, in sort of the black community in England. Because like my dad would tell me, doesn't matter how many kids you have, the state can look after them. Or my mum would just yell at me, have kids, and she never told me, have some savings in the bank, or have a steady marriage and then have kids. Just have kids. Or like I lived with an aunt, and then she was like, because when I lived with her, she would claim money from the social services in the place of what they call the foster carer.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, they have plenty of money, just abuse them.
which is true.
But where's the money coming from that they have?
Out of thin air. Fiat money.
To an extent, but what's another way the governments generate money? How do they do it?
Well, it's not the tax system.
It's not?
No.
Well, for people who do pay into the system or think they're doing the right thing, how must they feel to hear people just say, yeah, live off the state, live off the state?
Well, if they want that to be changed, they just have to vote differently in the next election.
I don't know. It would only be some kind of authoritarian government who would change that.
Well, look at it this way. Everything that the economy does, it's not really by the people, it's for the people, right? So,
Right.
so when you have that type of scenario, you can assume it's economical, because otherwise it wouldn't exist.
Right. I suppose.
It's a matter of egg or chicken, I guess.
Yeah.
But then again, you just have to deal with symptoms. You don't really need to find out the causes.
But then, if the money is being printed by thin air, then why is the social services in this day and age of the UK so tight with nothing?
Well, because they do it in a parallel manner. One, they have abundant supply of fiat money, and the other way, they have to pretend that they still keep a budget. Because literally, I mean, I think David Graeber said it the best, if I'm not mistaken, in the book Debt the first 5,000 years, where he said, well, basically, no government has any need for money, because if you consider the fact that the government is the sole author of the legal payment system and the object for payment, if he's the only originator of it, then what use would it be to distribute it and then ask the recipients to bring back a part of it? It's just that, it just came back to the originator.
Right.
There's no real benefit in it. But once you create an artificial need for it, which would be taxes and the sort of obligation to pay in a certain way, right? You can control people,
Right.
and so it's a political tool for force.
I can see that, right?
Well, I mean, human behavior is what drives the economy, right? So any way you can, you should actually be able to what's the word, influence people, influence people, I guess, or to basically allow the worker bees to work, right? So if it means that you have to have an artificial money system and an artificial tax system, well, so be it. But on at least on paper, when you have the need to evaluate the theoretical basis of that system, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is how it works, right? They create no money which is not backed by anything, right? They spend the money and then ask some part of it back.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, you have to act in a certain way. So you have to extend some physical labor during the process.
Right.
So that's the real benefit for the economy, that you actually moved and did something. Not that you get some numbers or that you spend some numbers. Just that you had actually the impulse to do something.
That's fair enough.
So, yeah. In the future, it'll probably change. If you ask me, all our problems, well, at least most of our problems, would be solved if we would just elect and legislators, IT specialists and engineers. That's about it.
Technocracy.
I don't know. Technocracy is, I think most of the time, it's rules for the apparatus.
Okay.
But when you have thinking, complex thinking people,
Mm-hmm.
they can come up with complex solutions.
Uh-huh.
But if you elect some dude who's, I don't know, let's say Theresa May, what's her profession? Real profession? Because politician is not a real profession, let's be honest, right?
She did, I think, geography in the university, and then I don't know what she did after.
So there you go. She hasn't really achieved much in her life, in a way. It's not like she look at it this way: if Floyd Mayweather would have the inclination to go in politics, it would be almost like a downgrade for him, right? He wouldn't be in any shape or form a benefactor of it. He wouldn't benefit from it, right? If Theresa May goes into politics, apparently it's an upgrade for her. which is not the thing you want, basically, right?
Yeah.
You want those Bill Gates type of people who actually want to do something altruistic and, all right, I take a pay cut and go into public office. Why not? But not those people who haven't achieved anything.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
we've been doing this 3 hours.
all night. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? What are your impressions about Latvia? Have they any way of shop?
I
Or
feel
phone
like
changed?
I never left in a way.
Really?
Everyone remembered me.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, you are sort of a what's the expression? Because in German it's the colored dog. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The thing about that people easily remember something that's out of everyday or out of ordinary.
Right. And definitely get that. Like, oh, I remember you. I remember you. Like, I haven't seen you forever. I mean, I remember people because I remember the face no matter what.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're like, oh, you. It's so funny. Yeah, I went into a bar with these tracksuits on.
Hmm.
So then the guy followed me. He's like, no, I can't let you in. And then I went up to the door and I was like, I remember you, to the guy. And he's like, I remember you. And then the other guy's like, I remember you. And he's like, yeah, you can come in.
Hmm.
So it has its advantages.
See?
Remembering faces, yeah. Yeah, really, really good. I'm trying to think of anything I've seen or observed in the city. I can't really say.
Anything that we should adopt from Britain?
Anything you should adopt? Oh. Do you need another bridge across the river, or is enough
Yeah, we are actually planning another bridge.
over here?
Hmm.
Wow. Hopefully, this time has less corruption.
Well, it's a big building project. Why wouldn't it have?
I read about the last one that half of the cost was corruption.
I don't know if half, but of course somebody got
bit.
paid more than they
And
ought to.
This one will be further towards the
North. Yeah.
mouth, west,
No, north.
north.
Yeah, it's called the North. Oh well, there's no a second. It was called the North Tunnel, I guess.
So it will go under the river or
I
above?
guess under, but I'm not sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
they will build something to the north of the bridge, current bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, you have so much traffic. Maybe traffic management. That's the one thing.
Honestly, I just think we just need to import some Dutch people. Just figure things out. All right.
Someone was telling me most of their tradesmen are Polish now in Holland.
Hmm.
The tradesmen inside Holland are Polish men usually.
Well, it might be the cheap labor thing again.
Right. And some Dutch aren't happy about it. This is actually it's a reason why some of them even supported Brexit. And then I saw today an Armenian guy, he lives in Latvia, and he was saying, yeah, I can see why people voted for Brexit, because anyone would work for the British wage, and then the British people would have poor conditions.
Sort of, because I think the British minimum wage is almost like the threefold average wage in Latvia.
Indeed.
So there you go. After Brexit, you can have all it for yourself.
If it works out like that, you have to do
that's the intention for many
post-Brexit
people.
podcast. Yeah.
Hmm?
We'll have to do a Brexit podcast after Brexit to say if the land.
If you are around here, sure.
Land.
Otherwise, you can just start with your podcast series.
Yeah.
With that, see, now we are
We're getting
on
somewhere.
our own.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bravo. Oh.
And your way into digital content creation is just YouTube. Just you search on YouTube how to make a YouTube video, something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
I really see you being quite entertaining on those. Do you know the KSI dude?
I've heard it. Yeah, I do.
He's one of the most popular YouTubers in the world.
Well done to him. Honestly, well done to
And
him.
I think he's from Britain.
He is. He's from London.
Yeah. So
A black guy they liked.
so
Well done to him.
so there you go. You can be the I guess Ronald.
Yeah.
Just nobody has taken
I
that
just
name
do a trolling
for
group.
YouTube.
I want to do a trolling group. That's what I want to do.
I think you can do all of it. Really?
trolling group.
Because you are. I mean, I'm telling you, I can compare it to many people. You are fairly entertaining.
Cheers.
Yeah, you've traveled a lot. You've experienced some things, and then you put it your own kind of unique way together.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. You just have to have that self-doubt a little bit less, right? Because you won't do anything or everything perfectly, right? But it will be good enough. That's the marker you should aim. Just all right, good enough, and then maybe something perfect will come out as well.
That's cool.
All right, 3 hours in.
Cool. We done.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure.
All right.